This is the time to take a stand, 'cause things aren't going as we planned. I think it's time to start anew. So many hurt and so much pain, but we won't let it be in vain. If we come together, we'll pull through. Be the change you wanna see. Go make history. I can feel there's a change coming. It's in the air. Some people keep holding on, but I don't care. We've been waiting oh so long, and I feel it oh so strong. But I know that this ain't fair. But there's a change coming. We might feel we're all alone. We can't do this on our own. This is something worth fighting for. If we're brave, we won't regret. And we can't let the world forget that we won't take this anymore. No. Be the change you want to see. Go make history. I can feel there's a change coming. It's in the air. Some people keep holding on, but I don't care. We've been waiting oh so long, and I feel it oh so strong. But I know that this ain't fair. There's a change coming. 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 I can feel there's a change coming. It's in the air. Some people keep holding on, but I don't care. We've been waiting oh so long, and I feel it oh so strong. But I know that this ain't fair. There's a change. There's a change coming. There's a change. Oh, there's a change. There's a change coming. adrenaline. You take me to extremes, more than my wildest dreams. Just one call of my name, and here I go again. Here I go again. Pressure rising, can't deny it. Body galvanizing, you know that I like it. You're taking over me now, and I'm giving in. Feeling you in my veins, your adrenaline. You're taking hold of me now, and I'm sinking in. Feeling you in my veins, your adrenaline. You're taking over me now, and I'm giving in. Feeling you in my veins, your adrenaline. You're taking hold of me now, and I'm sinking in. Feeling you in my veins, your adrenaline. Celebrate the day, yeah. Come on, just celebrate the day. The time is now, let's stop all our crying. We need to leave all our worries behind. We cannot hide, cause there's no denying. We're gonna take to the sky and fly. This history felt like we were dreaming, like waiting for morning dawn to be free. Another day went by, never ending, until we heard nature's love say breathe again. The dark night is over, it's time to celebrate the day. Swim in the sea and run through the streets together. Celebrate the day. We're gonna celebrate the day. Celebrate the day. We're gonna celebrate the day. Jump on this ride, cause destiny's calling. A place where people together can sing this melody. We've all gotta scream it. Come on, let's take to the sky and fly. This history felt like we were dreaming, like waiting for morning dawn to be free. Another day went by, never ending, until we heard nature's love say breathe again. The dark night is over, it's time to celebrate the day. Swim in the sea and run through the streets together. Celebrate the day. We're gonna celebrate the day. Celebrate the day. We're gonna celebrate the day. We're gonna celebrate the day, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Celebrate the day. Oh, I'm gonna celebrate, yeah, the day. Celebrate the day. Spread your wings, spread your wings and fly over the sky. Spread your wings, spread your wings and fly over the stars. The day has come, let's celebrate you home, and that's what I like to say. That is what I pray, and I'm still looking for a way. Hey, hey, 100 steps to find you.
See, I've been waiting all night for you to come and make it right. I thought you never heard me like the way you did tonight. I don't know what I'm feeling. In my head it just keeps ringing, and I just wanna press rewind, 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 rewind. And I tried to find the words I couldn't find in front of you, in front of you. Well, I guess I tell you now, I'm gonna leave it all behind and say goodbye, goodbye. 'Cause I'm gonna live my life, gonna get on with it after all this time. I'm gonna be alright, feel about me. I thought you'd make me happy, but you just left me empty. Always just the same thing, around and around in circles while we're hiding all our feelings. And you might say it's worth it, but it's not. Well, I guess I tell you now, I'm gonna leave it all behind and say goodbye, goodbye. 'Cause I'm gonna live my life, gonna get on with it after all this time. I'm gonna be alright, right? I don't need you, 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 I don't Everybody's telling you what to say and what to do. How you doing, sifting through it all? Everybody's got the dream. Some are small and some extreme. How willing are you to risk it all? And people say that it depends, but with or without all your friends, you're the one who's answering the call. You might be wrong, 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 wrong. You might be right, 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 right. You really won't know, no, 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 no. Not until you try, 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 try. Here's something in your bloodstream telling you to trust me. Tell 'em that you must be free tonight. Don't be afraid to act out. Nothing that you lack now. Tell 'em that you won't back down today. Won't back down today. Hey, hey, hey. Won't back down today. Not today. Won't back down today. Not today. Not today. Not today. No one knows what you can do. Not until you show and prove. Taking what's within and send it out. No one knows just what's inside. Everyone can criticize. There's a voice that's in you, let it shout. And people say do what you're told, but not much longer till we're old. The time is now to show what you're about. You might be wrong, 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 wrong. You might be right, 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 right. You really won't know, no, 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 no. Not until you try, 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 try. There's something in your bloodstream telling you to trust me. Tell 'em that you must be free tonight. Don't be afraid to act out. Nothing that you lack now. Tell 'em that you won't back down today. There's something in your bloodstream telling you to trust me. Tell 'em that you must be free tonight. Don't be afraid to act out. Nothing that you lack now. Tell 'em that you won't back down today. Won't back down today. I was a loner, you were a goner. I never wanted fairy tales. I was distracted, you were impacted. I never practiced fairly well. And it took too long, where did I go wrong? Now I'm too far gone to turn back. It was an accident, it was a light. Even through the blackness, I can see the light. You were ammunition, shotgun by my side. We were at the wrong place at the wrong time. But you were by my side, body hadn't died. Now it's looking done. Now I'm on the run. But if I look around, nowhere to be found. But if I'm going down, I'm taking you down with me. You were by my side, body hadn't died. Now it's looking done. Now I'm on the run. And if it's going down, if we're going down, if I'm going down, I'm taking you down with me. Yeah. And you didn't trust me, should have been just me. I've always known you don't play fair. Back on my own now, cover is blown now. Thought you should know now, I don't care. You were an accident, you were a light. Even through the blackness, I can see the light. You were ammunition, shotgun by my side. We were at the wrong place at the to make me smile. You used to hold my hand. You used to tell me that you'd take me to Wonderland. We had it all, you know. We put on quite a show. You were my one and only, never let me go. Then you broke my heart and I fell apart. I couldn't understand what you did to me. But I'm stronger than you think. I'll make a brand new start. So don't come looking for a way into my heart. Don't come looking for me when the party's over. Don't come crying to me when the party's over. You thought you had it all, but up against the wall I walk right through another open door. I'm gonna hold my tongue, it can't be undone. I'm taking all that I can get from you. I'm not thinking about you, nothing all
do you speak on my name? Why do you treat me so bad? 'Cause I never made you feel like this. Why do you leave me into? Do you love you for real? Do you love you for real? No, 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 don't give me that, don't give me that. No, 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 don't give me that, don't give me that. No, 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 don't give me that, don't give me that. No, 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 don't give me that, don't give me that. Why do you speak on my name? Do you love you for real? Why do you treat me so bad? Do you love you for real? 'Cause I never made you feel like this. Do you love you for real? Why do you leave me into? Do you love you for real? No, 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 don't give me that, don't give me that. No, 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 don't give me that, don't give me that. No, 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 don't give me that, don't give me that. No, 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 don't give me that, give me that, give me, give me, give me, give me that.
Fly higher, fly. There's no holding back no longer. The sky. The music makes me stronger. 'Cause I'm gonna try. Living by the hours. Baby, I'm gonna fly. Like a butterfly to flowers, yeah. Flirt with me, baby, come on, flirt with me. Essentially, baby, won't you flirt with me? Whoa, 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 whoa. Baby, flirt with me. Yeah. Fly higher, fly. There's no holding back no longer. Baby, I'm gonna fly like a butterfly to flowers. Yeah, yeah. Flirt with me. Baby, come on, flirt with me. Essentially, baby, won't you flirt with me? Whoa, 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 whoa. Baby, won't you flirt with me? Yeah. Flirt with me,
You ever been so lost that you just can't find yourself? You ever been pushed back to the limit and now you need some help? Even if it's one call just from one friend that knows you best. Good things are coming, yeah, I know good things are coming. We had no time to react, things are getting better real fast. I can feel it in my bones, we know now it's time for a comeback. Oh, come back, come back, come back, it's time for a comeback. Come back, come back, come back, it's time for a comeback. You ever find that all the little things in life are everything? And even though we don't know what the future looks like, I'll bet anything on every family to pull it together. Yeah, we can, yeah, we can. Cause love don't go away just like that. It can only bend. We had no time to react, but things are getting better real fast. I can feel it in my bones, we know now it's time for a comeback. Oh, come back, come back, come back, it's time for a comeback. Come back, come back, come back, it's time for a comeback. Come back, come back, come back, it's time for a comeback. Come back, come back, come back, it's time for a comeback. We had no time to react, but things are getting better real fast. I can feel it in my bones, we know now it's time for a comeback. We had no time to react, but things are getting better real fast, yeah. I can feel it in my bones, we know now it's time for a comeback. Oh yeah, ooh. We had no time to react, but things are getting better real fast. I can feel it in my bones, we know now it's time for a comeback. Oh, come back, come back, come back, it's time for a comeback. Come back, come back, come back, it's time for a comeback. Come back, come back, come back, it's time for a comeback. Come back, come back, come back, it's time for a comeback.
There'll always be a queen of the dance floor, no matter what the hell I've been looking for. The blood rush is a bright light, the heartbeat pumping so wild, I started playing with my tongue. How could I dance with another one's a sinner? How could I dance with another? How could I dance with another one's a sinner, dancing so damn well? Get closer to the queen with my best moves. I try to show plenty of my best grooves. The blood rush is a bright light, the heartbeat pumping so wild, I started playing with my tongue. Put my heart on the line, going all in. You want to cheat, you have to bite, and I'm biting. How could I dance with another one's a sinner? How could I dance with another? Dance with another one's a sinner, dancing so damn well. How could I dance with another one's a sinner? How could I dance with another? How could I dance with another one's a sinner, dancing so damn well? How could I dance with another one's a sinner? How could I dance with another?
There's a voice in your head, and it won't say no. There's a fire right in front of your eyes, and you can't let it go. Let the fire burn in you. You are stronger than you know. Show me what you're gonna do. Tell me how you wanna play. You can bring it on. You can bring it on. Show them you can make it through. It don't matter what they say. You can bring it on. You can bring it on. There's a fear and a doubt in your mind that you can't let show. Just come out with your head held high. Let the whole world know. Let the fire burn in you. You are stronger than you know. Show me what you're gonna do. Tell me how you wanna play. You can bring it on. You can bring it on. Show them you can make it through. It don't matter what they say. You can bring it on. You can bring it on. You can make it if you try. You can make it if you try. Show me what you're gonna do. Tell me how you wanna play. You can bring it on. You can bring it on. Show them you can make it through. It don't matter what they say. You can bring it on. You can bring it
This is the time to take a stand, 'cause things aren't going as we planned. I think it's time to start anew. So many hurt and so much pain, but we won't let it be in vain. If we come together, we'll go through. Be the change you wanna see. Go make history. I can feel there's a change coming. It's in the air. Some people keep holding on, but I don't care. We've been waiting oh so long, and I feel it oh so strong. keep holding on, but I don't care. We've been waiting oh so long, and I feel it oh so strong, but I know that this ain't fair. There's a change. Oh, there's a change.
Feel like a flood coming. You got my blood rushing. Oh, 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 eh. Oh, 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 eh. I feel my pulse racing. You got my mind chasing. Oh, 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 eh. Oh, 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 eh. Pressure rising, can't deny it. Body galvanizing, you know that I like it. You're taking over me now, and I'm giving in. Feeling you in my veins, your adrenaline. You're taking hold of me now, and I'm sinking in. Feeling you in my veins, your adrenaline. Your adrenaline, you take me to extremes, more than my wildest dreams. Just one call on my name, and here I go again. Here I go again. Pressure rising, can't deny it. Body galvanizing, you know that I like it. You're taking over me now, and I'm giving in. Feeling you in my veins, your adrenaline. You're taking hold of me now, and I'm sinking in. Feeling you in my veins, your adrenaline. You're taking over me now, and I'm giving in. Feeling you in my veins, your adrenaline. You're taking hold of me now, and I'm sinking in. Feeling you in my veins, your adrenaline.
Celebrate the day, yeah. Come on, just celebrate the day. The time is now. Let's stop all our crying. We need to leave all our worries behind. We cannot hide, 'cause there's no denying. We're gonna take to the sky and fly. This history felt like we were dreaming, like waiting for morning dawn to be free. Another day went by, never ending.
we heard nature's love say breathe again. The dark night is over, it's time to celebrate the day. Swim in the sea and run through the streets together. Celebrate the day. We're gonna celebrate the day. Celebrate the day. We're gonna celebrate the day. Jump on this ride, 'cause destiny's calling. A place where people together can sing this melody. We've all gotta scream it. Come on, let's take to the sky and fly. This history felt like we were dreaming, like waiting for morning dawn to be free. Another day went by, never ending, until we heard nature's love say breathe again. The dark night is over, it's time to celebrate the day. Swim in the sea and run through the streets together. Celebrate the day. We're gonna celebrate the day. Celebrate the day. We're gonna celebrate the day. We're gonna celebrate the day, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Celebrate the day. Oh, I'm gonna celebrate, yeah, the day. Celebrate the day. Celebrate the day. Celebrate the day. We're gonna celebrate the day.
Spread your wings and fly over the sky. Spread your wings and fly over the stars. The day has come, let's celebrate you home, and that's what I like to say. That is what I pray, and I'm still looking for a way. Hey, hey, 100 steps to find you, 1,000 stairs to climb. Hey, hey, 100 ways to know you. If I can reach you, please don't say goodbye. Happy birthday, my love. I don't wanna let you down.
You can take these bones and break them into pieces now to make my soul and cast me out in the sea. You can fill me with hope, take it all away again. I thought you should know that you ain't ever gonna break me down. 'Cause it's been down.
好拉满呀！哎，一个车许晋哲也选择直接带子赛，会不会应该试图在快马这个反击风暴把他给挡住了？哇，快马还没死，15回血了还在输出，仿佛战神一般。
但是您这个血量有点低啊！
大招打伤了，我已经杀死了！
这什么伤害？
这个烟花！
哇，直接闪现 Q 了，这啥没有？这啥呀？这个在小号脸上把狙击给杀了，而且自己还没死，打出回血，真的回血，这里面还在回血。兄弟，这是什么怪物？杰西应该是后不了走了。哎，兹卡走到之后还在拉扯呀！哇！
Give me all of your gold. Watch me blow it all away. You can save my soul, so I can sin and lose it again. Gotta fix this head I'm in before it spins so far out of control. Before I lose it all, 'cause it's better than the devil you know.
有移动的感觉，
对，有机会。
给大招带了3个，这太完美了，突然发现个金身，哇，防不住啊！大概这么徐徐，或者是给了一个治疗，这一个过断了俄菲零四，俄菲零四直接被秒了，马克这边好攻，空管天灵3被秒秒躲掉，空白王也要死，马克这波操作有点秀啊！
哎呦，死麻了，中路主要连了好几波了，在中路，哎，又是狂攻，又是你的狂攻，又勾起了自己第二次连下。吴小武，武大将军来了，他来了，疾跑，这波看到了，左边兵太一个野2个 TP， 他们要找的是要手3个人，前整去开通，打一下，这边感觉掉了，应该是偷掉了，哇，给我。
'Cause it's better than the devil you know.
Competition culminates here as we are once again back in the LPL for the spring playoffs. This time, it is round number 3. Both of the remaining matches here in these rounds mean that it is the double elim ticket booked if you win here. I'm Mazel, joined by Lyric. I'm so excited to be here today with you and to be on these wonderful games.
I'm disappointed. I thought you were going to come in, you know, again, a true Texan, like, here we go, getting into some LPL
Gotta
games.
save that one.
But, well, you didn't do it. So, you know, it's still nice to see you. Hysterics gone, replaced, you're in.
In the flash.
You know, we got a cool game today.
It is going to be a fun one for sure. Let's go ahead and bring up the bracket for the journey to this point in the LPL playoffs because it has been a tough one so far. No 5-game series yet, but it has been 3-1s across the board. As you see today, we do have LNG versus Top Esports on the top side of that bracket. We also do have the updated times for the rest of the playoffs as the April games did get rescheduled.
Yeah, and I mean, right, kind of looking at the bracket overall, looking back on yesterday, Weibo coming out so surprising. Honestly, coming to playoffs, they were in the worst form, I think, out of almost every playoff team. Completely trouncing EDG. The Shy looked great. SOFM, who's really been a non-factor in recent games, stepped up massively. And then, you know, we get to see them again tomorrow. Them up against JDG is going to be a fun one. JDG, LNG, 2 teams we haven't seen yet, Mazel. Gonna get to see them today and tomorrow.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough schedule to slog through, but these teams are doing just wonderfully that. And as I again reiterate, like they're one step away from the safety of the double elim, or I guess the safety that it wants to bring itself. And I think it's super interesting when you look at the level of teams that we have at this point, right? It gets harder and harder as we get into the further rounds of playoffs because the numbers start going down towards that number 1 spot as we are getting very, very close to the top couple teams in the LPL itself. But we do have a new face on the horizon tonight in the LPL playoffs, and it is LNG. Very exciting stuff to see them coming in as they did slouch a little bit towards the end of the season, but it's just another Do&B team, Lyric.
Yeah, and, you know, thinking about Do&B in his history, right, whether it's going back to QG Reapers, playing with Swift, Rogue Warriors in his time with Flawless, I feel like every team he's on, he kind of warps the way that they play, and it always becomes the battle for Middle Earth. We see Tarzan, we see Doinby heavily playing around the mid lane. For Doinby, 4th highest kills plus assists at 15, very aggressive. He's the highest jungle proximity. Again, him and Tarzan, pretty much best of buddies, always holding hands, and Tarzan having the 3rd highest first blood percentage. So they're not only around each other all the time, but they are extremely aggressive. And now, Mazel, I know, you're wondering, Lyric, where does that pressure go? Where does that attention look? It goes down to the bottom lane, because Light, the light of my life, he's been the consistent member for LNG this split. He really has stepped up to be a huge carry. Again, aggressive in the early game with those kills plus assists at 15. Always involved in all the team fights, and it's making sure he's getting the gold with those first turrets.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about that transition. It's about getting a lead early on with the mid-jungle synergy that you have between these two legendary players of Tarzan and Doinby, and funneling that into a late game carry that is Light. That is the ADC that we need to have if you're going to make it farther in the playoffs. If you're going to have any hope to be combating teams at Worlds or in the national events. So it's super important that they get that transition down. And that transition is from the scrappiness that you see of the early game in LNG.
100% right. The Lee Sin, the Volley Bear, 2 champions that want to go and scrap the Rise, moving to sides. Even Karma. That's a Karma mid for people who don't know. Doinby has been bringing that one out quite consistently. And that pick's all about enabling your jungler, giving them strength to fight more. And now with Iwandi back on the Rift, of course, we're getting some insane Rakan plays coming out where he's setting up fights. He's allowing for Tarzan, for Doinby, to Ala to be able to follow through. And LNG just be able to take over, because that really has been the defining point for LNG, is just how much and how well they play around the mid lane.
And I think a lot of the bread and butter for them is making sure that Tarzan is in a place of comfort, at least, and especially having some priority in the solo lanes that makes that a little bit easier. And when they lose some of that control, it does get a little bit iffy. You have to look out for their team fighting. You have a lot of huge mechanically skilled players, but sometimes the team fighting gets a little bit chaotic. But you can see all in all, when it comes together, right? You see Light, you see Doinby, and you see the rest of LNG trying to scrappily put these fights together.
Yeah, and when it comes to LNG's team fighting, I feel like you have a lot of solid team fighters. Doinby and Light especially, I feel like, are great carries in 5v5s. Iwandi can set them up. I feel like their only shortcoming has really been Ala, because typically he is on champions that probably do want to come off on a flank, probably do want to come from behind. And we've seen time and time again where he'll get caught off guard, not really be in sync with the team. And I think if Ala can have a better performance today than we've seen in the regular split, where he has been pretty rough, LNG should be feeling pretty good about themselves.
Yeah, I always love to talk about momentum itself, and in LPL, I always love to say it's super, super important. But on the other side of the rift, we got Top Esports coming off of a dominant win over BLG, and themselves really finding a place for the name in that series, right? You had every single person on this team performing on the day in their own ways.
Yeah, and again, they came out, they lost to BLG in game 1. It got a little bit scared, so my God, BLG actually going to step up. What's going to happen to TES? Because I feel like a team always flops in playoffs, and if it was going to be Top Esports, it wouldn't have been too surprising. But they came out. I feel like you saw a lot of individual members step up. Heck, 3-game wins, they had 3 different MVPs, Mark, Knight, and Wayward all picking one up. And, overall, I think it was a fantastic series. But, Mazel, you were there. How did you feel casting those games? What was it like?
I was a little hypey. That first game was a banger. Again, BLG really made us reel for a little bit. But then seeing the absolute calm, cool, and collectedness, this play in particular, the huge wombo combo, but getting Tien's signature Lee Sin in game number 3, getting the Viego in game number 4 to slam things home. It was incredible to see this team adapt to the situation that they were put in and come out smashing in these team fights. At some point, it just felt like BLG didn't have anything to say about the series.
Yeah, and again, that leads us to today. It leads us to LNG versus TES. I mean, even just looking across the board, right, having Doinby go up against his former jungler, Tien now jungling for Knight. And, right, that has to be the standout matchup, Knight versus Doinby. These guys have both been in the conversation for, best mid laner at different points of their career. They've gone head-to-head for championships and titles. And here today, it really feels like they're going to be the deciding matchup. 2 very different playstyles, right? Knight, so much more lane dominant, highest CSD at 15, a ton of damage. Doinby's all about enabling his team. The jungle proximity being incredibly high, and his kill participation's up there as well.
And both these mid laners being so integral to their teams respectively, but it's also integral for the players themselves to rekindle some of that former glory, right? Like, we have Knight coming back into form, Doinby trying to make something happen on LNG, and both of them being incredible in their own rights, right? Contesting for those top mids conversations across the LPL, and I want to see that comfort, that priority come through in this mid lane, right? For TES, the big focus, it is the Knight show. The MVP of the team is Knight, and if he's not on comfort, if he doesn't have any resources given to him, I think that's where we see TES kind of falter to some extent. But TES do have one thing going for them here, and it is the LPL caster buff, as I do believe we're going to go ahead and throw up the predictions. And yet again, we have all bet on TES. Okay, I thought it was a curse, because every time the entire LPL talent team has bet for one team, it has gone horribly wrong for that team. But we changed the fates last time around when we all bet TES.
I also do want to preface, right, because obviously all of us seem to be going with TES. The thing is, I don't think this is like a one-sided series, right? I wouldn't be surprised if this goes to 5 games, if it's 3-2 for TES. It wouldn't surprise me if LNG somehow, did win. Just looking at how LNG started the split, it was incredibly strong. We saw them start to falter towards the end. And sure, they had a roster change. They subbed out Lumao for Iwandi, but we only got to see Iwandi for a couple of series, and I feel like we've still not really seen Tarzan or Doinby find the same strive that they had early in the split.
Exactly. It's all about that connection. It's making sure that all the pieces are moving fluidly together, because we said how important it was to transition that early skirmishing, the leads that LNG can get into the bot lane, and Iwandi is incredibly inclusive in that conversation. Now we are into picks and bans. LNG on the blue side did ban away the Hecarim, Tryndamere, and the Graves. TES on the red ban away the Zeri, Lee Sin, and the Volley Bear. First pick of the Rise for LNG. I like where this is going.
Yeah, second pick. Now for the side of Top Esports, I'm curious to see where they go. With things like Tryndamere banned, I think Jace rises in value tremendously, especially with not too many great answers up against it to set up for the side lane dives that would be able to come out from LNG's side. But TES so far instead just going to opt into the Aphelios pick coming out. I think Viego also another incredibly worthwhile pick with the fact that there are 3 junglers banned. Heck, 4 if we count the fact that Graves can be flexed.
Yeah, I was gonna say gotta give some love to Graves there. I don't know if that's actually gonna be the a big prio pick in the jungle, but we did get the Viego locked in for Tien, bringing back a little bit of that momentum from the last series itself. That 4th game was absolutely monstrous from him on the Viego. We get the double instant lock-in from LNG, though. I love Arcane both times because we got Jinx and Jace.
And LNG kind of benefiting from their own Tryndamere ban. Again, gonna not really have too many options on the side of Top Esports. Typically, when Jace is picked up and I think Tryndamere's gone, my mind instantly gravitates towards things like the Malphite, Sion, Gragas, like any real tank matchup that can neutralize him early. We even saw the Shy solo kills Gragas against Jace yesterday. Or if Wayward was willing to play something more volatile, something along the lines of like an Irelia, I guess, is always there and available. But I would definitely much more expect to see maybe a tank top come out for Wayward. And then a lot of your eggs are going to be in the Jackula basket.
So I will say this is a huge pickup for Knight and Top Esports in particular, right? The first game of the BLG series for Top Esports, they went with the Victor for Knight, and it just didn't seem like the same play style for them. We got to see the Ahri in game number 2, and it absolutely exploded. That felt like a big momentum shift for TES. So this is a huge pick. Already a ton of comfort across the board for Top Esports in the first phase. And as I said at the beginning, I think that is super crucial if they are going to want to come into this series confident and comfortable. We do have the Xin Zhao banned by TES in the second phase, and the Malphite joined the table for LNG.
LNG having the same read as me, right? That not too many options left open outside of those tanks in top side. Wouldn't be surprised if Gragas is next ban for them. For the side of TS, I don't really feel like you have any junglers you need to particularly ban out here. I'm very curious to see where Tarzan goes. Like, Trundle still being left open is one thing, but I don't feel like that's something that plays super well with Ryze and like setting up 2 sides. You do offer a lot of peel and kite back for your comp that plays a lot of range. But that's it. We also have seen Nocturne a little bit in playoffs, and maybe that can enable these side lane dives, but we haven't really seen it all too successful. 0 and 2 so far. So Tarzan going to be I think, grasping for straws a little bit in terms of the matchup he's willing to go for.
And obviously, we put a lot of spotlight on the mid lane matchup, Knight versus Doinby, but how does that get rolling? How does that get off the ground? It is through Tien and Tarzan, respectively. And I do want to see a little bit more focus for LNG in their second phase to make sure that they have something they can move forward with. As the Aurelia ban joined the Malphite for LNG, it was the Poppy ban to join the Zinzao for TES. They are hovering the Gragas, and it's going to be locked in as well. I love this from TES.
It's just always been one of the best things, being able to answer Jason lane, being able to take, things like the phase rush, kind of like get in there, get out. How you have the body bop. If he comes in hammer form, you can interrupt that. You even have options in terms of the runes you can take right on spellbook if you want to be more of a threat for later, but still gives you some utility in lane with some of the earlier summoner spells. But now LNG gonna have to go with their options. We already hit on the Trundle and how that can function in their composition. Might not enable in terms of like the craziest mid-jungle 2v2s, but still a strong early skirmisher, and again, provides the pillar, provides some peel when it seems like LNG so far are really setting up to just keep top esports at arm's length, play out this range composition, win contests over mid-wave, get into river first, and really make life hell. When TS, okay, you have the Ahri, a bit of conditional engage right, can find ways to start fights, but Grog is going to be the real one serving that, and the Renata pick, I think it's kind of strange, if I'm being honest.
So,
I mean, when we're hitting on LNG, wanting to play at arm's length, Mazel, Renata wants to play against Dive.
Yeah, I definitely see that for sure. It's a little bit rough in that aspect of it, but I believe, and I'm pretty sure, Mark is still at that 100% win rate on the Renata because it got banned away in the series after it got played through the last time around. So maybe a little bit of comfort, confidence going in there. But I will say LNG's composition, we were talking about trying to get that fluidity, especially between Tarzan, the bot lane, and getting the kind of leads from the mid game into the bot lane and feeding through light. I think the composition sets up so beautifully for that. You have the Rakan to make sure that Iwandi can have some of that roam potential, have the engaged shot calling that you need, but you also have the strength and skirmishing for Tarzan that I think is so important. And Doinby on the rise, I don't think you have to question anything about that. Level 6, he's going to be getting on the roams.
No, 100% right. So, yeah, I think for LNG, you can kind of look towards bot pre-6 before that Renata ultimate comes online and starts dissuading some of those plays to come through. Hopefully they can find a bit of an advantage. You already hit on the Trundle, extremely strong skirmisher. You will do well into the Vega, especially if Doinby is enabling that with the Rise. But later on, again, I feel like it pivots more into just playing from a range, throwing out the poke, and then letting this Jason Jinx pop off, to where for the side of top esports, they need to be more proactive, they need to be more aggressive. They have a lot of pick tools between this Ahri and this Gragas to catch members of LNG out.
They do, and the picks are going to be super important. I think you can't rest on your laurels in a situation like this, and I want to see some of that proactivity as we hit the rip for the first time of the evening. One of these teams will move on from this best of 5 into the double elim bracket of the LPL Spring Playoffs. LNG versus Top Esports kicks off now.
Coming into the Rift, a lot of things stock and standard so far. Wayward going to go with the Comet, has been what a lot of Gragas have favored lately. I mean, just giving you a bit more harass in the matchup. We look at Doinby, Conqueror in the mid lane, so not gonna actually go with the phase rush himself, and apparently 600 games was
That's huge.
600 games for the man in the mid lane.
This is the 600th game for Doinby. I think that's an absolutely incredible accolade to have, especially coming into the first game of a best of 5. That's setting us up for some potential history here, I feel like. But we are getting that vision cleared out from LNG early on. I do want to set up a little bit more on the TES side, though. We talked a lot about the synergies we were looking for, the early skirmishing on the Trundle, how Iwandi can kind of get going with that. You were talking earlier about foreshadowing that TES need to get the ball rolling early. They need to find some advantages for themselves. I do still feel like that is going to come at that level 6 mark, which can be troubling when you are dealing with the Realm Warp and things along those lines for Doinby, but you really need that Spirit Rush. You need the Heartbreaker to set things going in the skirmishes.
Oh, 100%, but I feel like at least Top Esports, their like early mid-game power spike is much stronger, right? Once they hit those level 6 mark, have the ultimates. I mean, having aggressive and combat ultimates coming out from Knight compared to Doinby, Tien going to be able to get a lot of value out of the burst coming out from both of his solo lanes. And Top Esports 5v5 overall is actually very solid, right? You have members like Knight and Wayward who are able to go in. You have Mark, who is peeling for Jackie Love, setting up for his damage to come out. The only thing for LNG is that range advantage that we were talking about can be very annoying to deal with later. But if Top Esports can find a bit of momentum early on, maybe set up for some things like early Rift Heralds. I know Dagda talked a lot in your guys' last series of TS. Actually don't pick up first Herald too much of the time as a bit of a trade comes out.
It's always
Typically going for that second Herald.
Yeah, it's always about the second Herald. They always got to fight for it. We are getting our first ganks across, though. Knight getting locked up by the prison there and the pillar. There won't come anything of it, no flash burnt or anything, but at least early proactivity from Tarzan feels like LNG are in the right place.
Especially being on the Trundle, right? I mean, a lot of times this Trundle, you can look for a lane early, just pop the pillar, and maybe even just force a flash off that. But look at the minimap. TN right now, angling for a gank top.
This is huge, actually. He has a huge angle and the beautiful flash body slam. First blood for Top Esports at TN.
Great coordination coming out from their side, and looks like LNG were trying to answer on the opposite side of the map, but Jackie Love and Mark aren't falling for it, not even having to blow any summoners. So overall, Top Esports just finding a nice advantage for themselves. I'd say the only silver lining for Al is he didn't have to burn his flash, so, I mean, you still have that available, but, I mean, at the end of the day, you still gave over a kill. Wayward's still collecting all this CS, as I don't think the wave crashed into turret, but we can see next time we pan over the top side.
Well, I will also say something that stood out to me, obviously. I mean, TN himself, legendary jungler. We'll get a replay in the bottom of that bottom lane gank that did not come to fruition for Top Esports. But something for TN last time around, in his Viego game in game number 4, he had one of the most unique early game paths on Viego to get down to the bot lane to get ahead Jackie Love and Mark. It was actually incredible. But overall, the theme in the last couple games were that Tien was just big braining it. He was absolutely incredible in his pathing. So I want to keep an eye on that today and see if we get a little bit more of that. We do get that first blood for him as well. So on the right track at least.
Yeah, no, I was kind of curious to see if Tien would put any heavy focus towards mid, considering again it's Tien versus Dwinby in this match. Maybe, just looking for a bit of hey man, I got the better end of the trade in terms of changing teams. But Tarzan,
oh no, he's spotted out.
Got to focus on him he's spotted out. We also see Tien was actually spotted out on the opposite side as well. So neither jungler gonna be able to do anything, Mazel.
It's kind of nice how Jackie Love and Mark are playing this. They weren't exactly letting on that they knew he was there. They even played real close to the bush. The back barely gets completed there by Tarzan. He'll get his reset off, but as you said, nothing really coming to fruition there. We do see Tien heading down towards this bottom lane. Dragon coming up on the board. Wonder if he wants to take that opportunity down that way. And early Dragon stacking could be an out for TES, especially when you were talking about that late game potential for LNG.
And, I want to clarify something on that, so I'm happy you brought it up, is that I don't feel like Top Esports, damage necessarily falls off a huge pit or their formation, because you do still have the Aphelios, you do have Renata, who again is just going to be able to get so much value, especially if she's able to get that W, maybe save someone like Jackie Love, get more value out of it. It really is the formation of the range coming out from LNG. Even their front line, the fact that they have the Trundle is going to be able to take away some resistances on the opposite side, though. It's not like Top Esports even really have much of a heavy front line, an obvious target for Tarzan to take away from, especially if Wayward just opts into playing something like the Everfrost Gragas, which we have been seeing a bit of. Again, obviously another thing that Shy did play yesterday. So I think both teams have options. I just always get afraid when we have Jace, Jinx, or any kind of range on one side. Is LPL teams do typically just love to brute force their way into it. And Top Esports, even if they do have some engage, right? Maybe Wayward coming off on a flank, or if Knight can find a good angle, it's not guaranteed engage, let's say a Nautilus, or maybe if you had a Scion on the top side.
Yeah, I completely agree. And obviously, a lot of execution in between those lines when you're talking about it all. But I think something that's super important, and something I want to keep an eye on, especially for both these teams, right? On LNG's side, not getting caught with their hand in the cookie jar. I think something that has come back to bite them is a little bit of the overzealous plays, some of the extensions there, but especially getting caught setting things up or getting caught in transition itself. And on the side of Top Esports, making sure that that early aggression is something that can be tapered to Knight and getting Knight ahead, making sure that Knight is going to be the mid-game carry for the team. And so far, so steady, right? We were talking a little bit about the hand in the cookie jar for LNG. Nothing to come of it just yet, but got to keep an eye when we get to these objectives, especially now that we've hit level 6 for the mid laners. We're going to get a lot of that roaming potential.
And Doinby's going to have first move onto mid-wave after taking the blue buff, so we can get a little bit of a push out. But doesn't look like LNG really have any opportunities available. Tarzan making his way down towards the bot side, but Tien going to use this opportunity to maybe try and find an avenue to punish Ala. Him and Wayward both have their ultimates up.
They do. He does land a little bit of damage onto Ala early on, but he does not know Tien is there just yet. Spending a lot of time up here is Tien, though. But nothing really in response from Tarzan. We're just buying our time. Ala steps up just a little bit too far, and he will take his second death of the game. Give it to Tien.
Great to see from top east where it's just re-punishing on this top side. Ala not even having a chance to blow his flash either time that Tien has come up. And we were hitting on this a little bit in the pregame that Ala has really been the biggest underperformer on the side of LNG, in my opinion. Especially with Lumao kind of being subbed out and Iwandi being brought in. Really feels like Ala is the only glaring issue still there. Again, obviously Tarzan, I think Doinby as well haven't had the same splits you would expect out of them, but both of them have been very proactive in the early game, and they're looking to contest on that top side right now.
And it's just showing heads-up play from Top Esports. Oh my god, Tarzan gets the steal! He's in there as well. The shock blast from Ala gets the kill, and now Realm Warp's coming in from onto Tarzan, trying to get some help further onto the fight, but that's a big turnaround for LNG.
It's just so sad for
my
TES.
god, the
Knight.
quickness, the prison connected after the flash, and Knight goes down to Doinby.
And there it is. There it is, Mazel, playing for the mid lane. Iwandi, so much more proactive on the map than Lumao was when he was on this squad, making his way up, helping enable Doinby, and setting Knight behind, finding a bit of a kill. And not going to deny the wave. Sure, it's going to be picked up by Tien, so ultimately it isn't really gold value lost for their side. But still, heading straight into the replay from this one. Actually gonna, oh my god, we're actually going really far back. Yeah, Belly Bob comes through straight to the cast. And I mean, right, he had flash up, but he was only about 5% HP. He would have been dead no matter what there. And then here, Tarzan getting in, finding the smite. Viego's not being up, and just able to come out ahead, despite the fact that Ala had just been taken down, had enough time to come and react. But Knight sadly not expecting this one. Iwandi wasn't showing on the wave, so I feel like LNG could have had a bit of a heads up here. Maybe they assumed they could be taking Krugs, but I think Knight having to account for those roams.
Dracula pressing up on the bottom lane. Let's be a little bit careful there, but it's crazy to me that we got all three of those plays back to back to back. It was just constant chaos in that early skirmishing. We will see it come out even here. You did say it's not much of a gold lead after everything is said and done, but we do have the Rift Herald on Doinby to utilize and try to get some more plate for LNG, at least in some sort of fashion, especially in that mid lane we were talking about Doinby being so important. But I do like to see the aggression from Jackie Love on the Aphelios and bot lane. I think that's something so crucial to keep against LNG, because we were talking about getting early advantages for Top Esports. And at this point, you just need to find it in any way, shape, or form you can.
Yeah, and LNG right now look like they're fishing for it around mid lane. Tarzan waiting in the wings, but Knight this time isn't going to fall for it. Even Iwandi being pinged out in the bottom side tri-brush. But typically, when you see Rift Herald go to a laner, I think it's kind of unfortunate for the fact that, like, most likely it means it's going to end up being used in their lane, right? Like, you could try and hard force an opportunity to roam, but even that becomes telegraphed. At least on Arise, I mean, with the Realm Warp, like, Top Esports do have to wonder a bit of where it could be used. I'd still expect it to come out in the mid lane for their side. They haven't really been able to chunk and find plates too much elsewhere. So open that one up mid could be an option, or even just trying to get more gold onto Ala, who has been someone who's been able to hit turret a little bit. Maybe not as much as he likes, but looking now, LNG are making the move up toward top.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of cross-map action here. Second dragon of the game will go to Top Esports on the bottom side, as this is where their strength lies. It seems like Jackie Love and Mark are going to have to be the carry a little bit earlier on than they had potentially planned for, but to get the Rift Herald on the top side, be able to take down some more of these plates here for Ala, and at least get him back in the game after being put down a little early on. That kill plus those turret plates going to help out a lot.
I mean, he's already on his Eclipse and has been like keeping up in farm just fine, so still going to be able to do a nice bit of damage, but not as ahead as he would have liked to be in this matchup if Top Esports hadn't dedicated so many resources into shutting him down. And LNG now just going to keep enabling him. You look at the minimap, they have all of their vision up towards the top side.
Oh my god, Ala
Wayward
is actually putting some serious damage back, but Wayward with the beautiful plays and the cast to go on top of it. There's the flash body slam, and he is dead. Wayward gets a kill. He is playing alcove gameplay, crying his a little heart out because he is left all by his lonesome. He's going to buy a lot of time. Couple little stutter steps there, but DoinB will pick up the kill in the end.
Man, I absolutely love Wayward. I remember talking to Ox the other day, and he said, hey, keep a lookout. Wayward actually has the dankest emote game in the LPL. I had to use that word. That's the only fitting word there is Iwandi might be caught out.
Talk about getting your hand caught in the cookie jar. Will not be so this time around for Iwandi. He makes it out with the chocolate chip cookies. Tien doesn't get to say anything about it, but we do have Jackie Love pushing in the tower here. First tower will go down, though, to LNG, sub 13 minutes. So DoinB going up there to clean house on that one, get a little bit extra gold for himself.
I gotta say, LNG, despite a lot of their flaws, I feel like they've been one of the best teams at like committing to cross maps in the LPL, even in the later portions when they were struggling a little bit. They aren't a team who, let's say, like postures too long over Herald or like sits just staring at you while you're making a play. No, they always look for the opposite side. So we're gonna see here, really nice ult coming out from Wayward, straight into the queue with the body bop able to follow. Ala at this point realizes something's up, but Wayward, luckily, the E comes back up. He has the flash available, and he's able to finish that one off. And now, again, there's the emote game that we're talking about. Wayward proved he was the more Chad top laner. That's all we need to win the mental game.
It absolutely is a mental game. The Amumu crying there, knowing that he will eventually go down, does not phase him in the slightest, but it is of it telling, you know, that we have seen an adaptation here in LNG, putting a decent amount of focus towards his top side. They realize that with Tarzan, DoinB, and Ala, they can get up there and get some aggression going for themselves, and they're utilizing this beautifully. But we're coming to the point where we need to see that mid-game synergy come through for Tien and Knight, and especially the entirety of Top Esports, because you do want this Ahri to be in a place of power for Knight, who is, as I was saying before, the MVP of this team. He is the gear that runs a majority of the function for Top Esports.
And for TES, they weren't able to find anything around mid, right? We didn't see Tien put much emphasis there. They really focused on punishing in top side. Didn't try to get Knight any timings to maybe try and move and enable those top side plays. And it's left him just a little bit stagnant, says Iwandi.
Second time? Nope. Second time might be the charm, but Iwandi is the Rakan, has a lot of that mobility there. We will see Top Esports still putting all the pressure on bottom side, and it's been so telling and obvious the team's putting opposite focuses here on the map. We did get another Rift Herald going over to LNG, though, and it will be in Tarzan's pocket this time. So a lot of lane pressure available. DoinB flashes out of the charm. Nicely done.
Is able to get away, but still no summoner. Especially now as we're going to look, I think LNG soon are going to start transitioning down to that 1-3-1. Looks like they're still keeping their bot side for now. Maybe look to try to break that one open. But with top side open for LNG, you have the winning matchup in the Jace right now. You can push that one out. You can start to look to move. You can put a bit of a siege onto mid lane, try and coordinate to drop that Rift Herald, take down mid lane turret, and deny Top Esports options even more. Because one thing about LNG's comp is they do have two champions that feel very comfortable in the side lane. For TS, like, sure, Wayward can go into the side lane, and we'll see him do fine, but not going to generate too much 1v1 pressure. I feel like for TS, it's a lot more about grouping up. Knight can handle side lane, could be a bit of a 1-4, and then grouping up together, trying to find these picks, making your way into the enemy jungle.
It's all about trying to find that way in. I have liked to see Tarzan playing a little bit aggressive. They're going to utilize the Rift Herald in mid lane now, and it's all about trying to snowball this into getting into a gold lead for LNG, because they've been trying to recoup some of the gold early on. That'll be the second tower going over to them. Potentially a little bit of a skirmish afterwards, as well as now Jackie Love has come into the mid lane. Second charge will go off. A little bit of damage on that tier 2 is going to do LNG nicely.
And it even helps guarantee the prio. They had members mid first, so they can turn on a dragon. And then this is where their poke really comes online, trying to dissuade TS.
Here comes Tien, though, not quick enough to get to the dragon. First dragon will go over it. The hostile takeover not only hitting Tarzan, as he takes a couple swings at Awandi, but nothing else coming of it. TP to the mid lane to defend as Top Esports show up and force all 5 members to try and claim their second tower of the game.
And Top Esports having the ability to move first, considering that they forced LNG to pivot down.
Wayward with the casks, but the turnaround, the bailout, is it enough for Wayward to survive? No, it's not, because Iwandi's going in for a double kill on the Rakan. TN, Knight, and Mark are still alive. They're still pressing up, even if it's an unmanned fight. But what a turnaround from LNG to spring when the moment is right.
They found the setup, Iwandi going in. They had the long-range damage follow-up coming out from Light and his ultimate. I believe, also got an accelerated shock blast in there. And Top Esports were just completely deleted. TS now having to back off from the siege they were putting on. LNG not able to take anything off of it. We're going to see here what happens. Wayward, once again, finds a really nice cast into the body bob. But here we see the members go in. Ultimate comes out. Accelerated shock blast. A shock blast lands into the rocket, and instantly 2 members of TS are just taken down. Wayward was a little bit low from tanking some of the damage from engaging on Doonby, but still, nice return by the side of LNG, and gold still completely even.
Gotta love it. 18 minutes in, it is neck and neck. We've had it completely go either way in different skirmishes, especially that last one. I love to see, Jackie Love tried to put down as much damage as he could at the last second, even if he was getting blown up. But you see the potential, right? Because we were talking a lot in the beginning about this mid-jungle duos, how to get this early to mid-game advantage snowballing into the late game. Because in the end, it still does come down to the ADCs. It still does come down to Light and Jackie Love on their respective teams in those late game 5v5s. And I think it's so telling that we're starting to see that transition here. We're getting the Gale Forces onto the ADCs. We're getting that aggression that we love to see from that position here in the LPL.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really annoying for the side of TS later on, though, especially as Doonby starts to get tankier and tankier. Already having the Fimbulwinter sitting on the cloth armor right now, having the Merc Treads to deal with like some of the CC options on the side of TS. And, I mean, Ahri, again, I think notoriously not the highest damage mid lane champion or mid lane assassin champion that we have in the meta. Can fall off a little bit if she isn't able to get ahead. Wayward not really going to fulfill a heavy damage role, so it's mostly going to come down to Jackie Love. Tien as well, will be able to do a little bit, but still it's ultimately about his ultimate usage and finding those resets. To where for LNG, you have 2 big damage dealers in Light and Ala. You have Doonby, who's, is a tank, but still going to putting off some decent damage, especially as he took the Conqueror, and then 2 other supportive members there. So I still feel like LNG in a solid position. But Top Esports at least have the buffer of 2 dragons. And if they can find a fight where Mark's ultimate gets a lot of value, that could be the breaking point that gives TS a bit of an advantage.
That's what I am so vehemently excited for both these teams, because it's a lot of the one thing can change everything about these team fights, right? One big hostile takeover into the resets for TN will bring fights to a victory for Top Esports. While on the other side, if you hold on for LNG, you take calm, cool, collected fights and you keep them at arm's length, that poke, that damage from Light and Ala is going to be terrifying. I will say that we've already seen a lot of things go down. Wayward with the excellent casks and the focus down towards his bottom lane now might mean that we get some more shenanigans as he is invaded on. He's in some trouble here, but he's trying to get the bailout in time. Iwandi, it's not dead yet, and he will go down finally. It's still, though, Wayward getting traded back.
LNG tried to find the opportunity, but I think TS with a really nice response, already dedicating a lot of those members down towards the bot side, because I think the play was somewhat telegraphed coming out from LNG with how aggressively Ala was pushing forward. They saw Doonby wasn't showing in top side. He was farming jungle camps that whole time, so TS can read that, hey, this play is going to come down towards the bottom side of the map. I do think execution pretty good here from the side of LNG, especially the pillar from Tarzan. Yeah. But with Iwandi being so committed, and then Mark with the ultimate, I mean, Iwandi had nowhere to go, and he eventually gets traded.
But it's still super interesting to see how stellar Iwandi has been, right? Like, we were putting so much focus on the trio of them, but I think Iwandi himself on this Rakan is really showing out in the first game, and I think that's super integral when you're seeing not the typical comfort come through for TES, right? They were putting focus towards his top side, changing things up for the first game in this best of 5 and not putting all the eggs in the night basket, kind of expecting him to hold his own a little bit. But it's really the side of LNG that are shining in that trio, and as they pick up their second dragon of the game, we're tied up in those objectives.
And it also just comes down to the fact that Iwandi just suited the team with his playstyle so much better than Lumao did. Because you think back right to FPX where Doinby defined the playstyle, was there for so long. It was all about mid-jungle support, and support and jungle really playing around those mid-timers, and then Doinby using back to enable them. To where for Lumao, sat in lane a lot more. Iwandi constantly moving on the map and playing with these key members of LNG. And when we talk about just LNG as a whole, again, I want to reiterate, I think they're in a great spot. Not the hugest fan of TS's composition. I feel like we even saw in the fight earlier around, I think it was second or third dragon, how Mark throws out his ultimate, but LNG are playing from such a long range, they actually do just kite it out. They just run away from it, and then you see on not much you can get here. So Top Esports having to force LNG into small pockets of control like here, and then maybe you could try and find some value.
They do connect the charm, the cask again, Moonlight Vigil, and Jackie Love. There's the hostile takeover you wanted as they turn it on ahead. And TES, they don't take the tower, but they at least get out with a couple kills. Iwandi and Tarzan down. They are turning onto the Baron. It is all about the snowball for Top Esports.
Yeah, and they're just going to go for this one. A lot of ultimates burned. Actually, every ultimate burned from Top Esports on the side of that play. But with LNG losing 2 members, looks like they're just going to commit for a gold trade. Pushing heavily in the mid lane, taking away some camps.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
You know, the hair stands on my neck every single time we see something like that, but it will not be so this time around.
No, now Top Esports having the Baron, already having the gold lead on top of this as well, plus 1,500, and now going to be able to start taking over the map bit by bit. I think playing out a bit through 2 lanes once Gragas answers the bot side, but I love how TES did this because, again, I feel like they only really get value out of their composition if they can force LNG into these kind of small pockets of control. They all group up mid, and it sets up for the hostile takeover to come through. And Wayward, once again, was the one to find the play. He's really been the crucial difference maker here in this game, involved in 7 kills, 100% kill participation for the Top Esports top laner.
He has been getting cask after cask in ways that would blow my mind if I was facing it. Like, he is putting you into a position where you literally don't have anything to say about your champion, and he's just getting a full combo of damage down and setting up the rest of the team. That's what's so scary, is you see that combo of the hostile takeover into all the CC, into the AoE that can be put down by Jackie Love. That Moonlight Vigil was incredible. And it's just showing an inkling of the team fight that Top Esports can do when the execution is there. Speaking of execution, Knight just playing a little bit with fire here on the Fire Ahri. Does have to use the Spirit Rush out. Hostile takeover comes through from Mark as they do push in on the vision of LNG and into the red buff as they have the Baron minions in mid lane.
And I feel like the important thing that we're seeing here is not they have Baron buff. TES being able to push forward aggressively means they can force LNG to be the ones to walk into them. So they can get a lot of value out of the tools that they have, and LNG can't just sit there and keep that range that they've been looking to do all game long. So TES able to do so much. Look at the vision control coming out in bot side as well, 1 minute and 40 seconds away from the Dragon. If they can keep this up, because they're still going to have Baron for a solid minute, they're really going to make it impossible for LNG to walk in and contest that one. And heck, might even be able to find more picks if LNG gets a little bit antsy and tries to brute force their way into their own jungle.
And I will say we have now reached the Jackie Love precipice. We have the Dominic Regard finished up for the Apellis. He is on 3 items now. You thought it was doing damage before. Well, now it's going to be even scarier. And Top Esports realize they are on a power spike with this Baron buff. They can push up on it. And I think that's something for Top Esports that's been so crucial for them. When they get a lead, they push it forward every single time and try to make your life hell. Not LNG moving in to dissuade that a little bit here in the bottom side, trying to clear out some vision for themselves. They might find themselves in a skirmish, though, as they are getting locked down. Iwandi going with the quickness, the grand entrance onto 2 of them. Damage is down, but Moonlight Vigil comes out from Jackie Love, and nobody has touched Jackie Love yet. You still got to get the ADCs. They are the focus, but Light is on the side here. Light is trying to get excited. He's caught, but that's a big accelerated shock blast, and they get them all. It's LNG coming out with a fight. It's TES with their hand in the cookie jar this time.
And that's what you need to see from your AD carry, someone who's willing to aggressively walk forward. I feel like yesterday that was some of the stuff we were missing from some of the games between Weibo and EDG, but Light not afraid to be the playmaker here. Like you said, Ala as well, accelerated Shock Blast. Great to see LNG turn that one around. When we were hitting on top, esports had Baron. They were the ones forcing them in, not allowing to enter. Not only now are they going to pick up Dragon, but answering with turrets, answering with camps, denying top esports gold experience and everything on the map.
Everything indeed. Third Dragon will go over to LNG. That's 3 Hextech Dragons back to back to back. One more for the soul. And it just like that, it's flipped on its head. You thought TS were feeling comfy. Well, it's all LNG's comfort here.
And we saw Wayward going in to start this one off, a little bit awkward with the other members of TS not around, has to flash out immediately. And we see Iwandi get so much value come out of his quickness. But I feel like the members to focus on here are Light, putting out damage in the backside. Again, look at how low he's chunking them. Then this accelerated Shock Blast, bringing them down, because we've said time and time again, top esports kind of thriving in the close quarters combat, but the fact that they are so heavily grouped up allowed for the AoE damage to come out from Light, to come out from Duinby. Once Ala flashes out, again, that massive Shock Blast to come through, and I think TS being a little bit overzealous in terms of trying to find a pick onto Tarzan when Tarzan's the one walking forward, when Tarzan is a very tanky member. And again, TS are ahead, especially with Jackie Love having that LDR. It feels really good, but still not just being able to burst him out in an instant, especially as he has the Anathema's chains.
Yeah, I think it's super integral, though, that they do that, right? I was talking a little bit earlier about TS when they get a lead, right? They love to snowball. They like to take control. They want to be up in your face and not let you breathe for a moment. Well, LNG realized that they were getting to a point like they were top esports just constantly in their red side. They say enough is enough, let's move in there, and they absolutely capitalize on it. I think with that execution, right, you can see that it does make it a little easier to pull apart those fights, especially when Light is playing so aggressive. And for top esports, you're definitely going to see a little bit of that confidence wane here. A lot of bodies in this mid lane just kind of trying to set up that priority for themselves, as we do have Baron on the table about 30 seconds, but nothing else really to speak of.
No, so both teams going to posture towards top side, but I do want to go back and hit on the Anathema's chains coming out from Tarzan, because with TS's comp, again, being so heavily reliant on their AD carry, that's going to do so much. Tarzan taking less damage from the Aphelios, on top of the 20% reduced tenacity that Jackie Love's going to get. With the amount of CC that LNG have, right? I mean, Duinby, Tarzan, and Iwandi all having ways to lock him down, feels like it will be crucial. But TS, wanting to force a fight, probably going to try and set Knight up, is no, instantly having to back off as LNG aggressively walk forward.
Tarzan getting chained up with all the Everfrost, 2 Everfrost auto, but there, look, it's the instant clap back as Knight gets half his health taken down. LNG move back from that priority in mid lane to clear out some of this vision around the Baron buff, around the Baron pit itself. And you see top esports really have nothing to say about it. They have the setup in some of these fights, but they are losing a little bit of that confidence in this setup, and that range is coming to fruition for LNG. They can just poke and prod at every dark bush.
And we've seen for TS the way they find fights, right? It's either one. Again, it is a bit of a pick, even if it is Wayward kind of walking into multiple members, because he separates them with the explosive cast. You find one kill, you have the numbers advantage, you can try and follow through from there, especially with the hostile takeover coming from Mark. Or if they're able to generate pressure like they did before, which is much harder now with how wide open the map is with so many turrets down, force them into one location. You have a ton of AoE coming out from the side of TS's composition as well.
TS just seem like they want to fight here as they're positioning for it. Flash over the wall. Duinby is on to Jackie Love, but the hostile takeover comes back. Duinby in some trouble now. He is focused down. Now you get the resets from Tien. He's back onto the back line. Re-engaged from Iwandi, but he is obliterated. And LNG have been dusted. This is the chaos. This is where TS thrive. Point blank TP from Wayward. Maybe not the best into that one, but it's an ace for TS.
And I just don't know why Duinby feels like he needs to make that play. Like, Jackie Love walks forward, so he thinks he finds the angle to pick off the AD carry, and that would be a win. But commits so heavily with the flash, he gets taken down. And then the other members of LNG kind of baited into the fight, when that's pretty much gone against the play pattern we've been hitting on the whole time. Now for the side of TS, not going to be able to look for the end with how low death timers are. Tarzan up in 4 seconds, but top esports going to try and turn this one into a Baron.
They tried to go for the mid lane, did not decide to continue with it, and will turn back onto the Baron, but it burns down so quickly here. The top esports, they're getting TP'd on, though. Doinby trying to make up for it. No, decides to go to the mid lane and clear that one out, because that might be a little overzealous if we're talking about overzealous. Mega Death Rocket skirts right on through, and it's top esports who have blown up to a 4,000 gold lead and now have Baron buff yet again.
Still, LNG probably to get Soul off that play as we come into the replay, I think, at a pretty inconvenient time. But yeah, Doinby thinks he finds the angle because Jackie Love walks forward. But again, you're kind of forcing your members like your Jinx, like your Jace into not a very good play pattern. Instantly, top esports are able to turn with the amount of CC that they have on the board. 2 bursts out the Ryzen again, then having numbers advantage from that. They can
We're
follow
right
through.
back in
but
it.
Mazel, this is what I want to see.
We are right back in it. Soul is secured by LNG. They have the Hextech Soul. Huge amounts of damage, but here comes Wayward Kaskin on the flank. You got Knight. He's trying to get in with a Spear Rush, but he can't do so. Has to get right back out. Doinby in the front line, putting in some AoE, but now he's left out to dry. LNG, you got to save your mid laner. They don't do so. Hostile takeover will not hit anybody, but top esports, Iwandi with the re-engage. LNG, this could be the turnaround fight, but you're getting the reset now, and here comes top esports. Jackie Love is carrying the game. Knight is coming through clutch, and somehow they lose the soul, but they might just win the game.
And LNG were the ones who opted into that, right? Iwandi turned back onto TS, thinking they had the damage to pull through. Tien had the Guardian Angel, though, so you committed so heavily onto the Viego, he's able to get the revive, and now top esports can just look to end the game.
Tien almost dead, but Ala flashing away from Knight. They're pushing onto the towers. Iwandi wants to stop this. This could just be game number 1 going down. And TES, you thought it was rocky, but they had it all along, apparently. Ala doesn't really have anything to say about this as Jackie Love is onto the Nexus. They want a couple more kills. They want to pad those KDAs, but it's the Nexus they have their eyes set on, and Mark will auto-attack it one more time to finish it off. Top esports come away with game number 1 of this best of 5.
And it was just so weird. It was so weird. I felt like LNG, like, gold was even for most of the game, right? But I felt like LNG were kind of the ones in control for the majority of it. We saw good games coming out from members like Doinby. He was the one finding advantages early on with support coming from Tarzan. Iwandi was someone you highlighted quite a bit for the impact he was having. And then it felt like LNG, I mean, getting too ahead of themselves in some of these moments where I really didn't feel like they needed to. You saw top esports start to struggle with ways to find some of these picks. LNG were able to turn around some fights, but at the end of the day, Doinby thinking he finds angles, getting caught off guard in some of those last fights. Iwandi believing they could turn it, kind of underestimating the GA coming out from Tien to be able to buy more time for the fight, allow for the other members to follow up. And this game, extremely back and forth. Ala, huge damage for the side of LNG. But Jackie Love, we hit on him pretty much being the primary and sole damage dealer for the side of top esports. It was all they needed.
Yeah, it didn't need the early to mid-game snowball. You just needed Jackie Love on Aphelios. But the thing for me that's so crucial here, and looking back at LNG, is you were talking about it consistently, right? Their late game was what their eye was set on. They wanted to make it to the late game. They got 4 Hextech Dragons, and yes, we were at 33.5 minutes in, but it just felt like they had more time to play with. But they were getting forced into the playstyle of TS. They were getting forced into the aggression the top esports
Mazel, they were forcing it.
But that's
they
what
were
I'm
the
saying.
ones forcing
That's
it.
what, like, mentally, they just got the tables turned off. I don't know what it was. They didn't need to fight those fights, but they felt like they had to take the aggression.
Top esports have mind control
No
powers? Mazel?
way.
I don't. Is that what you're saying?
I think that might be it. I think it might be it, Lyric. I think
But
Jackie
I mean,
Love
I
might
agree. I think you're hitting the nail on the head. I mean, we saw the one fight where Light did get a lot of damage off, seeing the low damage numbers, really only Ala putting those up. Because we never got... We only had one fight where it was kind of both teams hitting frontline to frontline, and that's where LNG, had that one fight behind Dragon Pit where they came out ahead. We didn't really see that the rest of the game. To be fair to top esports, they didn't really give many opportunities for that to come, but... Like you're saying, I feel like LNG could have been more patient, but top esports at the end of the day, they found the picks and they got it done.
Can I just say, though, one huge shout out. I don't know if he'll win MVP. Who knows at this point? Jackie Love may be winning that one, but Wayward with the casks. Oh, my God. It is insanity. Do not let that one through yet again. We'll see on the other side of this break, though, as we get ready for game number 2. So don't touch that browser. The spring regular season was extremely fierce. We have so many evenly matched teams. It's almost impossible to tell who will rise and who will fall from the team standings alone. However, that is what makes the LPL the most interesting league, isn't it?
I mean, 33 kills in 27 minutes. We do it again. Look at the ult, the back line. FPX bring it back. It's a bouncy castle. And unfortunately for OMG, the Phoenix rises from the ashes burnt down by OMG. It feels like with this, they should eventually secure their playoff berth.
You've got Ivo still alive on the side. He's doing work on this bait. You've got to get the bait. You've got to get the bait. He's still going. He's still going. 2 kills, 3 kills. Can it be a quadra? Can it be a penta? Oh my God! Ori smashed a team fight and a penta kill for Ivo. Doggo is caught though. Yeah, G coming up clutch. Breathe with Meganar is trying here. Fofo with the big Emperor's Divine. The Emperor is here to stay. Fofo cleans house. BLG looking to crest into the playoffs with some mighty strength for themselves. And BLG will lock in 8th place. Now they just go on a shake, shakes his head. JJ goes into the pit. They've still got the damage here. JJ, he gets it. Jinx steals the Baron. There is no hope any longer for Team WE as it's Landre on the back and NEG will continue their dominance.
And Mew had to bring it all back, but he's in the middle of the team to stay using the range. Somehow WE might actually turn the fight around with the poke and burst. One Fog as well, not expecting it. He's charmed with quickness, but GA pops through as the Shy takes some ball to court. You need a lawyer to get yourself out of that one, Lyric.
The fight comes on through top esports. Knight on the backside with an Infernal Soul. He's just going 1v3 on the back, and the rest of his team is winning at the same time. Knight is a monster, and UCal finds it out firsthand. Triple for Knight, and game for top esports. Tries to get himself away from the fight. Goes golden with minuscule levels of health. They've killed off Light, but Doomy's now the AD carry. Tarzan jumps straight on in. Double kill, triple kill, quadra kill for Doomby, and the man in the mid lane strikes back.
The Moonlight Vigil flying through the depth charge to knock him up. It's missing with the execution, and the Rockman wins out. 369 flying in from above. Tarzan off the wing though, trying to bring it back, but it's too late. JDG once again team fight king.
Could try and force it now. He's gone down.
Why are you there, my friend? Why are you pushing it when he's still acquainted? He's still healing. Oh, that healing was ridiculous. They still haven't taken him down. Finally to get him, and here comes the package across everybody. Burn, baby, burn. RNG find themselves a fight. Triple kill for Finn. The series and a shot at top 2 for RNG. V5 blast themselves into this game. UV in the middle of everyone. Rookie looking for more in the backline. Jumps forward and finishes safe. The double kill. And I sure hoped so he would win. And boy is she the triple for Rookie as he gives us a masterclass. V5 continue to dominate the LPL and maintain their first place position.
Now it all starts again. This time, they must show all of their strength to prove who is the king of this LPL spring. Let the games begin.
Everybody's telling you what to say and what to do. How you doing, sifting through it all? Everybody's got the dream. Some are small and some extreme. How willing are you to risk it all? And people say that it depends, but with or without all your friends, you're the one who's answering the call. You might be wrong, 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 wrong. You might be right. not today, not today. No one knows what you can do, not until you show and prove. Taking what's within and send it out. No one knows just what's inside. Everyone can criticize. There's a voice that's in you, let it shout. And people say do what you're told, but not much longer till we're old. The time is now to show what you're about. You might be wrong, 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 wrong. You might be right, 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 right. You really won't know, no, 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 no. Not until you try, 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 try. There's something in your bloodstream telling you to trust me. Tell 'em that you must be free tonight. Don't be afraid to act out. Nothing that you lack now. Tell 'em that you won't back down today. There's something in your bloodstream telling you to trust me. Tell 'em that you must be free tonight. Don't be afraid to act out. Nothing that you lack now. Tell 'em that you won't back down today. Won't back down today. I was a loner, you were a goner. I never wanted fairy tales. I was distracted, you were impacted. I never practiced fairly well. And it took too long, where did I go wrong? Now I'm too far gone to turn back. It was an accident, it was a lie. Even through the blackness, I can see the light. You were ammunition, shotgun by my side. We were at the wrong place at the wrong time. But you were by my side, body hadn't died. Now it's looking done, now I'm on the run. But if I look around, nowhere to be found. But if I'm going down, I'm taking you down with me. You were by my side, body hadn't died. Now it's looking done, now I'm on the run. And if it's going down, if we're going down, if I'm going down, I'm taking you down with me. Yeah. And you didn't trust me, should have been just me. I've always known you don't play fair. Back on my own now, cover is blown now. Thought you should know now, I don't care. You were an accident, you were a lie.
Welcome on back to the LPL playoffs, spring 2022. The beautiful Shanghai in front of you. We are neck deep into a best of 5 between LNG and Top Esports. I'm Mazel, joined by Lyric yet again as the likely duo here between this series. And what an incredible turnaround from Top Esports in game number 1. The man with the plan, the man with the cask, Wayward comes away with our MVP for that game number 1.
Yeah, Wayward had a phenomenal game. I mean, starting from early on, like in lane, we saw him find the solo kill coming up at top side with some amazing cask usage. And then the whole game, right, we're kind of hitting on the formation that can come out from LNG. And Wayward was the big one putting up pressure, not allowing it to happen. We saw them dropping waves on sides, grouping up 5-man mid, and then him continuously finding the casks necessary to set up Top Esports for success. This man won Rookie of the Split for a reason. Just really proactive, I think really clutch player in terms of what he's able to find for this team. He's able to absorb pressure. He's able to use pressure like we saw in this game. setting up a lot of ganks for TN towards his top side. And just phenomenal to see Wayward come out with a really strong game one.
And it's the like mini mechanics within it that were so incredible, and the setup a lot of the times that changed the fights for top esports. Those casks were incredible in its own right, but no slouch himself, right? Picking up his second MVP of the playoffs, having 2 series where he's really been impactful for the team. But it's all in all, you know, the team itself as top esports scrappily, where we were talking about LNG being the scrappy ones, coming into these fights, right? Like the back and forth nature of what we were seeing unfold, but in the end, you know, Jackie Love shining true for the team itself. Yes, Wayward gets the MVP, and I think is much deserved, but the entire team, again, showing up for top esports in different ways.
Oh, 100%. And even for Jackie Love, like his job being a little bit harder again, like having to get around those pillars, the mobile 8 carry. Again, we saw the Anathema's chains come out from Tarzan to try and, you know, take down some of his damage, make it easier to lock him down, take away some of that tenacity, but still able to dish out the damage with the team enabling him. So we're going to see, can top esports do it again? Can LNG pull it back? I feel like even just ignoring things like the range, I feel like we could have seen more side play coming out from LNG. That is one of the, I'd say, positives to TS, is that they didn't give them much breathing room and time to think, especially when they found those 2 picks and instantly pivoted into a Baron. Instantly recall right into enemy jungle, not really giving them much chance to find these opportunities. But we're in the draft once again, Mazel.
We are indeed already through the first phase as well. LNG back on the blue side to ban away that Hecarim, Tryndamere, Graves. On the red side, top esports, Zeri, the Lee Sin, and the Volibear. First pick this time is the Jace for Ala, though.
So, right, still the same plan. Tryndamere ban, go straight towards the Jace. This is the only carry option I think that really comes to mind. Like maybe Camille as well, but going for the Irelia would really be able to snowball out of control with a lot of attention. But TS, knowing that they have numerous options, right? The Irelia, the Malphite, the Gragas, not needing to opt into that one just yet. They are instead just going to go straight back to the Aphelios. Heck, even if you run back to Viego, the TN's go-to pick last year. A lot of people feeling like it was a bit of a crutch for him in terms of how much he relied on it. But still, with the amount of games played, I mean, it showed in game one. It's why it's one of his most comfortable go-to champions.
But something I do want to iterate on here is the style that we saw come out in that first game, because we're getting a rinse and repeat from top esports here, and I feel like that is just fine for them. They found ways to pick apart the fights itself, and I feel like it was LNG, as we were kind of talking about, being forced into a style that maybe they shouldn't have been forced into, in taking those aggressive fights, trying to force fights against top esports when they had a team that was definitely relying on the later parts of the game. Though LNG say there was nothing wrong with a couple of these picks they grabbed, as they do re-grab the Jinx, but this time they get the Nautilus instead of that Rakan.
So we're going to have some more options down on that bottom side, but I'd love to see TS lock this one in, and they
Let's
do
go.
the Malphite. Because in my mind, like, Wayward had a phenomenal Gragas, but right, Gragas is a lot more conditional. Like, you need to be hitting those casks. You need to be using Everfrost properly. A lot of times it is just kind of hard to run front to back as a Gragas, because you will just be absorbing a lot of damage and you aren't the tankiest champion. But Malphite is a completely different beast. You are tankier. You do just have one button that is very hard to fail, especially if you're able to, like, smartly, let's say 2 minutes before Dragon, set up a fight, try and burn those summoners, then at the objective fight, just have that ultimate there. So we're going to be looking a lot at flashes for the side of LNG, so Wayward can, try and have these guaranteed ultimates where top esports are able to find the fights they want.
I am just seeing all the crazy wombo combos potential here, and in the fact that, we did see those crazy mechanics from him on the Gragas. A little bit different, but as you said, easier to execute on. In the second phase, though, we do get TN's Viego banned away from him. I want to give that one over for a second time in a row. We have the Silas ban as well as the Trundle by top esports.
And now, with the fact that we didn't see Jungle picked up in the first rotation, I mean, we're going to be getting into some obscure picks. We've already had SOFM bring out the Zed the other day. We hit on the Nocturne in the draft of last game, something that has seen a little bit of play. But all of the go-to junglers have been taken off the table.
And that was a big pick from Mark there as well, potentially, as the set gets taken off the board. But now, as you said, it's kind of weird to find us in this position. We typically always see the junglers picked in the first phase. What is this lyric? But it makes it that much more exciting. It makes it that much more intuitive to these teams, especially in the depth that they're willing to go to in those jungle pools, because we've already put so much focus on these junglers, and they have to get something that moves forward, that moves with grace itself in these times. As Renata actually locked in yet again for Mark, so keeping up with tradition here, it feels like, for Top Esports.
Yeah, and I want to go back to junglers and point out, like, you do still have Xin Zhao open. Obviously, he's been nerfed, the ult duration going down a second. I believe his W also lost a bit of cooldown early on. And obviously, even going back to things like the Gore Drinker and Stare exchanges had already made him kind of fall down in terms of prio in the LPL. LNG, though, going to pull out the Karma mid. So, again, the Xin Zhao being something that I would have as a go-to for it. Olaf as well, if you really want to pull that out. I think that one would be a little bit more rough in terms of how your composition plays out. So I like that they lock in the Xin Zhao and have the CC setup coming out in the early game and have things to enable it. Now for the side of Top Esports, Jarvan. I mean, immobile carries on the opposite side, right? I mean, you look, 3 champions, very easy targets for Jarvan to lock down in terms of the Karma, the Jinx, or the Jace. This has been something we've seen a little bit, but either way...
Let's go! Yes!
0-2 so far in playoffs, Mazel. 0-2 coming out. In both games we've seen it play. It does have a really strong setup on sides at level 6, being able to answer plays, especially when you do have that Jace on the top side that is incredibly squishy. Wayward, Tien both hit 6, and I feel like Ala is just dead. But same goes for the bottom side, right? Pretty much anywhere where Tarzan and Doinby aren't, I feel like you have very easy setup coming out.
And I think that's the interesting part here. You see the stability and kind of the reserved nature of the composition for LNG, the Karma in mid lane with some of that stability there, trying to meet up with Tarzan. Doinby not necessarily having as much of that forward momentum for himself. Where on the side of Top Esports, execution is king. The bar is high, but my goodness, if you reach it, you are going to be smashing this game. And I'm looking at those wombo combos, turning off the lights into the unstoppable force and everything that follows within as well, with the closed nature of the Cataclysm in the Moonlight Vigils that we were seeing Jackie Love pull off so many times. And so I'm very, very excited for this next game. Yes, it is a step forward for Top Esports. If they do win here, they're 1 game away from further pushing into the playoffs. But with the compositions themselves, I do wonder if we're going to get a different iteration, right? That level 6 mark for Top Esports is insane. Like, you look across the board at every single one of those, and they are terrifying. So a lot of the same feeling for LNG, where I want to see them play reserved and not get forced into those fights that we were seeing them do so last game.
Kind of funnily enough, I feel like the game takes different turns to where LNG, I feel like in the very early levels, much stronger with the lane prios they have with the Xin Zhao. But the level 6 mark, the Wombo coming out from TES, they get stronger in the mid game. And then late game, again, going to be a bit of a back and forth, but I really like the Malphite coming out to set up for Jackie Love and Mark, finding these massive team fights for the side of TES.
And again, it is all going to come down to the early synergies between the teams. The trio of Tarzan, Doinby, and Iwandi trying to get something rolling for themselves, but especially Tarzan and Doinby. And on the other side, wait till level 6, go all in for Top Esports. Tien and Knight got to get that 2v2 mid-game magic in sync to make sure that they can push forward into this series. But it's going to be a spicy one here between the two. I still think it's interesting where the jungle pools have leaned up to, but with the way that Tien was playing that Viego last time, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I have an update. Ox told me I'm a loser and said I did misremember. It wasn't the W cooldown on Xin Zhao that got nerfed. It was actually the E, the audacious charge. So, Ox, a shout out to you for calling me a loser. You are absolutely correct. I am always wrong. But I don't know if that was worth interrupting you for.
I don't know if it was it, but I appreciate it. I mean, I like it, you know, calling yourself out on cast. I can appreciate that. Anybody can.
Look. We are honest people. When we are wrong, we own up to our mistakes. And Ox owns up to them for you as well.
He does indeed. I can always. I love that we've gotten the switch up. Ox is now the big brainer, and Lyric is the one that has to say sorry every time. Thank you, Ox, for that. We're changing the power dynamics here.
Now, brother.
Yeah. Nobody pays attention to you. You're just in the corner. You know, we get a couple cool stories from you occasionally, but see how that all goes, I guess.
But coming on to the Rift now, right? Again, I feel like LNG will have some options early on. We can already see in this bottom side and also in mid having the prios available to kind of open up for Tarzan to play through. Oh, nice engage.
Flame Chompers on the other side. Mark will just take the slow and steady route around them there, but a lot of damage on top. Esports at the bottom lane. Early trade. Level 2's completed from LNG. Will make that so. Love to see the aggression down there, and especially Iwandi and Light trying to make something happen where it was very quiet for them last game. And we said at the beginning of the day, Light needed to be integral in the later parts of the game, Lyric.
And let's also remember that, right, Light and Iwandi were the original duo before Lumao kind of came on the roster out of nowhere and took up this space. Going back, you know, the days of 2020, LNG, Light and Lumao, Light and Iwandi, I'm sorry, being on the roster. So see them be put back together because Iwandi didn't play too many series. I believe it was only the last 3 or 4 of the regular season. And now being able to show off that synergy is very nice. And going back to the bottom lane trade overall, just the fact of having the engage support up against Renata early, like sure, Renata does well against dive and engage later on, but early on with how high your cooldowns are, you can be quite vulnerable, especially if LNG put a lot of resources down towards that bottom side, which if you see now, Tarzan going for bot lane Scuttle, going to be playing with the pressure that his mid and bot are generating. Yeah,
was spotted out there. Does use the scrying orb on the other side, though. Try and spot out Tien. Will not do so, but Tien realizes just going to have to go for the hard farm style himself. Won't be able to have that aggression until the level 6 mark, but it's a good heads-up play from Tien, right? And it's a little bit different, I feel like. We've seen Tien thrive mostly when he is on that proactive early jungler, especially the early levels, because his big brain, his pathing, comes up aces for him a lot of the time. But this time, sitting back a little bit more. But I'm still looking for him to connect with Knight, right? That was something that wasn't as existent last game, but it's still so important. And I wonder if we do see that adaptation here into the second game.
I think it could be quite hard to target mid. Like maybe directly at the level 6 mark we can see it happen. Doonby always can just try and like throw the E on himself, get the movement speed and the shield, run away. But especially C-Built's tankier, engage.
That was a little bit awkward, but it's all the CC onto Jackie Love, but the wind becomes lightning, not enough damage to kill him. That's just the flash and the heal. Will be TES, a little bit worse for wear, but get away from the game.
I still think it's huge coming out on this bottom side, right? Because now Jack and Mark, even if, let's say, resets come out, they come back to lane, they find advantageous trades because they do have the range advantage coming out in the support role. Jack not going to feel comfortable to walk forward. And Tarzan, we're going to want to see repeat ganks come through in this bottom side. Doonby's been keeping up pressure pretty well in mid. You know you have the earlier, stronger dueling jungler, so I think LNG shouldn't be afraid of 3v3s or 4v4s breaking out in the bottom lane, even if top esports are able to follow up on the play.
Yeah, much different from last game where we're getting the early aggression in top side for both teams actually early on, or a little bit later on for LNG themselves, but it is going to be more so that focus around mid, around bottom lane, at least early in this one specifically. Do want to say that we have an Infernal Dragon on the Rift. We got to see TES put a pretty big emphasis on the first 2 dragons itself. Ended up losing the soul, though. I don't know how much that ends up playing out for them as a win condition in its own right, but I still think that early aggression down towards bot lane, that early presence from Tien as he's just about to hit that level 6 mark, can be super integral.
100%. And for TES, I mean, I feel like they always have avenues and windows with the ultimates that they have on their team to be able to, you know, find fights or find picks throughout this game. LNG really gonna have to respect in terms of like walking too far forward or overcommitting in fights up against a Nocturne or a Malphite. But top esports can look for a fight of themselves this time. Doesn't look like they'll be able to find it.
We're hoping that Iwandi was going to step forward just a little bit more. Tien came out of the bush a little early there, but just getting
Tarzan's
his presence
coming,
down there.
Tarzan's coming.
I was hoping for a little bit of a 3v3, but TES clear that wave pretty quickly and move away from it. We do have pings coming around the dragon, though, and both mid laners coming this way. Could have a little bit of a 4v4 scuffle.
And Knight having ultimate available on his side could be really impactful if he can find the Spirit Rush forward, maybe land a key charm onto the members of LNG.
Not level 6 yet. The engage comes in from LNG. The fear connects. Who's going to die first? It's going to be Tarzan. And afterwards, Iwandi quickly follows him to the Death Realm. Knight chasing down Light, but Doonby is trying on the back here. They haven't found a single member of TES, though. And TES come out with a 2-0 and a dragon for themselves.
LNG just running straight into a 4-stack from the side of top esports. Not even wrapping around trying to play numerous angles. Because of having the Karma in the mid lane, you kind of just have to run forward as a coordinated unit. But again, Knight able to get the Spirit Rush off, find avenues around the fight. and then Mark doing so much to dissuade, giving the buff over to his AD carry with his W, and Top Esports doing a great job of turning it around. We can see here, again, critically, I feel like the charm comes out from Nightland straight onto Tarzan, gets chunked incredibly low. Jackie Love also surviving on a sliver. Feels incredibly lucky for the side of LNG, but LNG's other members not really too comfortable to run forward once the Xin Zhao does go down.
The scariest part is Tien wasn't even level 6 there yet. We hadn't gotten the full strength of TES at that level 6 mark that we were alluding to, and they still come out with the victory. I think LNG just getting forced a little bit there into that fight. Don't know if it's necessarily a dragon they needed to go for, but hey, they opt into it to try and get an early advantage. Does not come up for them. Now the question is, though, what is the response from LNG? How do they get themselves back into a proper position here? They're only about a 1,000 gold lead behind, but they've got to be proactive if they want to stay in this game. We said it is the lead for TES that will be damning for LNG.
Yeah, for LNG, like, Ala has been pushing in top, but the fact that you do have ultimate on Wayward now, I think you just pivot down towards the bot lane like we're seeing them do now. We've seen they have kill threat.
No flash on Jackie Love. He does have the heal back, though. That's a big turnaround. Iwandi trying to get something while Mark wasn't there.
Yeah, LNG try to find it. Unfortunate that the Chompers aren't able to connect on Jackie Love, lock him down longer because he does have no flash, so then maybe you're able to turn that into a winning play. Because Jackie Love now trying to set up some damage, because look at the minimap. Knight does have push in mid. He's started to make his way down, but both teams just trying to look for the engage, not able to fully find it. And for LNG, I mean, you lose Rift Herald, you aren't able to find anything on the bottom side because the engage didn't come through, and it feels like TES just coming out in spades with what they're able to get off the map.
And this is terrifying because we've said all along, TES, when they get a lead, they do not want to give you any time to even think about it. They will continuously press vision up into your jungle. They will continuously force fights on you like we saw in last game. And it's something that you definitely don't want to be on the behind the ball on for LNG. And Tarzan, who we want to see proactive, getting this combination of the mid-jungle duo together. He's got Doinby with him at his side on the Karma, and I think it's super important to see that synergy come to life here.
Yeah, and I mean, again, Doinby's kept up prio in mid, but we haven't really seen him link up too much, other than that early fight, which obviously didn't come out too favorably for the side of LNG, and they're just going to keep looking to pincer down on this bottom lane. Mark, though, finally hits level 6, so has the hostile takeover available, so will be pretty risky for LNG to answer, especially if they don't get some more deep vision down to spot out where Tien is, because Tien doesn't need to be around bot lane, could be, you know, decently close by in his own jungle, be able to pop that ultimate now that he's level 7 and be able to follow up. So Top Esports having some wards down towards the bottom side, nothing too far into TS's jungle, but having nothing towards top, so not going to have perfect information on where Tien is, and they're going to have to react appropriately. That's why you can see Ala having the respect in the top lane with where his wave's at. If he walks too far forward, Paranoia comes out, Wayward follows up with the ultimate, and he will just go down.
Yeah, and something else here that really stands out to me, and obviously Ox had tweeted about it earlier, was the fact that, you know, I don't even get to speak about it. Sorry, Ox, the mid lane is going down. Charm not connecting from Knight, but it didn't matter. Doinby goes down. He has no response.
And this goes back to what we were hitting on earlier, right? You can look for these opportunities mid early on in the game, but we've seen Doinby kind of builds a hybrid Karma, you know, goes for things like the early Moonstone Renewer and then starts pivoting into some tankier items. So later on, you won't have those opportunities available, or at least he won't go down as easily. So I like that TES are taking advantage of these opportunities now. You cover up in top side, you allow for Wayward to get the freeze and win 10 CS, pivot your way down towards spot side, and Tien really enabling the whole map so far in terms of where he's pathing.
So what I was going to say before I was rudely interrupted by Tien and Knight, as I'm going to be rudely interrupted again, is that LNG, you know, they have had the range advantage in these fights. And maybe it's not coming to fruition just yet, but it is all about the fighting for them and not being able to utilize their strengths, and seeing Tien capitalize on TS's strengths in the mid lane.
Oh, of course. And I mean, especially, right, typically that advantage doesn't come online in the early game. That is about much later in like the full-on 5v5s. The problem is that actually means nothing this game when you are up against a Nocturne and a Malphite, because they will always be able to find avenues onto you. You're going to have to try and kite that one out, which feels like more would have to be an overextension coming out from the side of TS, or like an overcommittal. Let's say Wayward commits the ultimate, but Light has flash up. You take that one down, you could just instantly turn on him and take him down, especially if he's set far behind, because I believe it was EDG FPX we saw FPX Shallow, who just completely taken out of the game early on with Flandre's Jace, not becoming this massive tanky Malphite, and all the members of EDG were just able to delete him easily. Sadly, though, that hasn't happened this game, and TS are in a favorable position in all lanes. Top lane winning in CS, mid lane winning in CS, Jackie Love winning huge on top of just getting the plate gold from this Rift Herald.
And I guess it's the duality of the composition, right? You have all the go forward buttons, you have a lot of the execution potential there, but you also have a lot of the peel back, right? A lot of the AoE, the CC coming in, but as well as a hostile takeover always there to kind of change things around, buy time for Jackie Love for a big Moonlight Vigil. We saw it time and time again in game number 1, and that's a side point from the Ox tweet, because it is super interesting going further into this game to keep an eye on that and how LNG approach these fights, because they are approaching the fights, at least in terms of composition, a lot of the same that they did in game number 1.
Yeah, we do see something shaking up as TS once again do get the first 2 dragons like last game, but Tarzan, interestingly enough, going to go towards the Turbo Chem Tank rather than the Gordricker. There we go, Mazel. My memory's not too bad. Yeah, going towards the Turbo Chem Tank, so going to offer a bit more engage in terms of like running down certain members of TS's composition. Again, later on, I actually don't feel like that offers too much value. Even if you run into Jackie Love, Mark just has so many peel tools.
Oh my
feels
God.
Like more. Oh, what? Woo!
It's just everything on him, but he doesn't go down. My goodness, Jackie Love. Those are the kinds of heads-up plays you expect from a championship AD. And the bot lane is now TES look to take first tower of the game.
I don't know why that damage was so surprising when he's sitting on red and white.
Yep.
And Gale Force, this is really when Aphelios comes online. And, you know, your strength over Jinx is really shown. Just being able to aggressively Gale Force forward, put your combo down. And then even comparing that to Light in this game right now. Sitting on 2 long swords, a dagger, and a pickaxe. Jackie Love is so much stronger. Anytime he's left alone in the bottom side with Light, Light can have to respect and just back off. But now with first turret taken, we can see TS starting to readjust their lane allocation, right? Move your bot lane through mid, start putting Knight into a side lane where, you know, again, Doonby should be fine, especially as he's starting to finish some of his items, but it's mostly just going to be catching waves, answering waves, not willing to push out aggressively himself. So Top Esports now full control. Second Rift Herald also about to come up. But TS, interestingly enough, looks like they're pivoting for a pick onto the Jinx.
They want to maybe put some more hurt onto Light down there and get a first death for himself. But I think it's still a lot of that momentum coming off of game number 1 for TES. But that's where I do want to change the focus onto LNG and look at the way that they can approach this, right? It's been a very, very quiet game from them, right? When we were trying to look for some proactivity, but with the way that they've drafted out their composition, I feel like they do feel confident in waiting a little bit longer. But the thing is, you can't let a team like TES get too far out in front of you. We've said that time and time again because of the way that they love to play the game. Now we're getting first Rift Herald for TES, which is not a commonality, but they will take advantage when it is there.
I mean, for the side of Top Esports, right? I mean, they've full control over, like, pretty much everywhere on the map. We actually did see them take first Rift Herald earlier on. This one being second Rift Herald for them. But still, your point still stands, right? They got first Rift Herald this game.
It still stands.
Yeah, they got first Rift Herald this game. They got second Rift Herald this game. They get every Rift Herald this game as well. So if Baron counts as an evolution of Rift Herald, you know, they're definitely going to get that as well. Now, again, transitioning into having Knight inside, so like we just hit on, having so much pressure, able to take this turret. LNG pretty much going to always have to commit Tarzan to play with Doonby if he wants to be safe. Building the more supportive elements on Karma as Jackie Love goes for it again.
Yet again, and the AoE, oh, the Calibrum, that would have been Light's death, but he flashes out of the way. The wave in mid lane will be cleared out by Allah. Jackie Love throwing the thumbs up, knows what he's doing and knows the confidence that he's packing.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely. Top Esports are using every advantage they have right now and pushing them forward, right? That they're not being like a bystander through the game, waiting for Dragon to come up before they find this, committing Knight, aggressively pushing in this lane, forcing 2 members to come answer, allowing Jackie Love to go for these plays in mid, while Wayward's just chilling, knows, hey, I'm going to be useful throughout the game, has the Frostfire Gauntlet now completed, even sitting on the Warden's Mail still like he's been sitting on throughout the early laning phase. And now for TS, you can start putting your resources down into the bottom side to start setting up for this Dragon.
They have exploded this lead, about 4,000 gold in advantage for Top Esports, and a little bit of a different state of the game than last time. We were neck and neck in these kinds of points between these two teams. The skirmishes going either way. LNG actually coming away with a lot of the fights themselves. As we said, they slowly stacked up those 4 dragons to get Seoul, but here Top Esports feel absolutely in control, and I think we're going to have to see some of that life from LNG in the next few minutes to really have a say in this, as we see second Rift Herald spawn in the mid lane for Jackie Love and TES.
Yeah, and I mean, right, I mean, this one just kind of rough at this point. They have a 5K gold lead. They literally are winning and have pressure in all of their lanes, so they're able to do whatever they want. They get tower topside back, start playing in enemy jungle. For LNG, it feels like you just got to stabilize for now. I don't even feel like you try and contest this. You make your way towards topside, you get the objective bounty on top turret, and then I feel like the way LNG have to start looking for comebacks is even starting to drop side lane waves yourself, maybe early grouping mid and trying to force numbers advantage and find picks. But a lot of that's going to rely on Iwandi. Tarzan also having the turbo chem tank, so maybe you can try and find something with him. But you can't fight on windows where Top Esports already have the setup. And since you're behind, you can't really get favorable setup yourself. A lot of it's going to come down to, again, giving up something somewhere to force somewhere else on the map for their side.
And that's another thing here when you look at the composition. It is terrifying to go, like, you set yourself up for a 5v5 fight, right? You have a very stable composition itself. But that's kind of what Top Esports wants you to do, right? They're waiting for you to group up to get an unstoppable force, a hostile takeover, or some more kills. As Knight gets the engage onto Iwandi. Wayward's here, unstoppable force onto Light. They can't connect the damage, but the lights go out. Hostile takeover comes clean. Iwandi goes down to Knight, and the rest of LNG are running for the hills. Allah is down. The last Spirit Rush available for Knight does not connect the damage onto him, as it is a double kill for Knight himself. The AoE, and Duenby trying himself to get the damage back. He's been popping shots, but he does not have it as the karma. They get out Tarzan and Duenby, but it's still all of LNG routed.
And I think LNG, right, they make an understandable move. They know they can't fight dragons, so they go towards topside, they look for the cross map. But with the TPs available for the side of TS, they're able to quickly traverse the map. And again, they have the Nocturne as well, so it doesn't matter if Tian's even fully here or not. He'll be able to join in an instant after Wayward hits that ultimate. And even though it looks like Light gets away here, the hostile takeover does so much to lock 3 members of LNG in place, help Knight get more of those resets so he can keep going forward and find more kills. So again, a lot of it coming down to Wayward committing the TP and having the paranoia available on the Nocturne to be able to fully commit and find these fights.
And I can appreciate Light trying to, like, turn around, get a couple pop shots in at the last second, but the lights go out again. Who's got the power to the light switch? It's Tien.
Yeah, this one, this one's an absolute massacre. No power for the side of LNG today. Losing all of their jungle camps, pushing in waves. And, I mean, even if, like, let's say you try to, like, flip a fight or something like that and you just go all out, the problem is fighting into TS when they have this massive front line coming through from Wayward is just going to be so difficult. Even Mark, his hostile takeover about to come through once again, so LNG running forward is going to be quite hard. All of Top Esports grouped up as a 5-man. Iwandi's ult wasted.
TS are here, though. Wayward is not with unstoppable force. He needs to watch out. He's getting into trouble. Hostile takeover, though. He's beautiful from the other side. And here comes the reinforcements for Wayward. Mega Death Rocket hits from Light, though. And it is unfortunately his life he has to give, even with all the help from his teammates.
So able to find a pick on Wayward since the other members of Top Esports don't feel comfortable just brute forcing their way in around that Krug wall. So having to go the long way around, are able to find one pick. Doesn't change the state of the game or the map state or the side of LNG, but at this point, right, any overextension, any pick you can find is something you'll take, especially if they're just going to commit 3 members.
Momentum.
First kill, you're right. Woo!
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I don't know if we cast a curse you or what. He's caught out a little bit. He has the rest of his team there, but here comes the Nocturne. Charm will not connect, but the Moonlight Vigil does, and the AoE is all there. TS wipe the floor with the 3 in the bottom lane, the 4 rather, as it's another huge takeaway. And LNG might have gotten 1 kill, but it's all TES.
They were hoping to push down, get that bot lane through, get some bounty gold, and try and find their way back. They're trying to, you know, take some risks to be able to get ahead. Well, not get ahead, but get back in the game. Sadly, though, Allah not around the fight as well, so you didn't even have the numbers advantage that you would have from killing Wayward. And now for the side of TS, just going to turn towards the Baron.
They will burn this down, and very, very quickly so. Their lead is helping them so much. But the thing is here that I want to highlight, TS themselves have adapted into the series itself in both of them so far. It feels like Mega Death Rocket won't get anything this time around. But it's been incredible to see, game one a little bit rocky from Top Esports. But in game two, both times now, they have come out smashing, knowing exactly the style they want to go for, as we do get a replay of Iwandi getting caught out a little bit.
Yeah, Iwandi, a bit of an unfortunate pathing taken from him with the Hex Gate. And again, Allah's not here. Allah went to clear mid-wave. So now you just have a straight-up 4v4. Your Nautilus is already chunked from the fact that he just walked through numerous members, had to blow the flash, and TS, just able to turn it. As like you were saying, for TS, the one player I really want to highlight is maybe we get an engage here, so maybe I shouldn't highlight anyone.
Keep on fighting here as Val-style takeover goes across 3 members. Iwandi getting hit by Light, but now Tarzan with the Crescent Guard will not buy that much time. Here comes the Light switch, and here comes TES. It's all black and red, and Allah, the only one left for LNG. He'll be run down to the dirt just like the rest of his teammates. He gets one back, the second kill for LNG, but it's a participation trophy in this second game.
And for LNG, it's just so hard to play against a Nocturne Malphite. You see Light. I mean, you don't even really get to play this game as an AD carry with the composition on the opposite side, and TS might just brute force this one home. There's only 10 seconds on Light, so maybe not able to fully do it, but instantly pivot towards that top side. You see Tien taking Dragon, and that's the play I really want to highlight. Tien, I feel like, has been so hit or miss this split. A lot of games just going in, giving kills over to the opposite side with some really bad timed invades. But this game, and so far in the series, Tien playing extremely well.
Coming from Young Miracles in 2018, substituting behind Hacker on Suning, becoming World's Finals MVP for FPX. This guy has a long track record, but he has the skills to back it up.
And we see right there, Wayward and Tien once again find their way onto Light. The other members just able to play out through a front to back. Mark always at Jackie Love's side, making sure none of the dive threat coming through from the Nautilus or the Xin Zhao reaches him. He's DPSing freely. And once again, Wayward goes.
This is exactly it. This TES do not let you breathe, as they already take down Light. They've already taken down Iwandi. And here comes Knight with a beautiful charm in top of it. Everybody's dead. Again, for like seemingly the 1,000th time, Allah, the only one alive. He's just running for the hills, but the base is in tatters here for LNG.
I mean, now for TS, they're just going to go end. Mark here going to come and stop recalls. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe just
does
be the
he
bro.
handshake?
Highlights.
Oh, he's going to use the hostile takeover. He didn't want to get close enough just in case for the handshake. We do see the handshake, though, going over to TES as they take down the Nexus for the second time of the night. One step away for Top Esports from double elim in the spring playoffs.
I gotta say, I think it would have been way more hilarious if Mark lets him recall, pops the emote, and is like, hey, you can go because my team's still just gonna kill you. We're like so far ahead, it does not matter if you recall. Does the correct thing, cancels his back, but Mark, you were dominating. You could have gone for style points, especially when you have Wayward and topside spamming emotes all game. But, I mean, TS, I really like their draft coming out of it. LNG were aware that the Malphite pick was, something that had to be on their mind because they banned it in Game 1 in second rotation. This time around, though, you hit on it with a bit of surprise, right? When they locked in that first pick, Jace, like, oh, my God, they're going to go for this. Malphite comes through. And, again, Light didn't even get to play the game, man. Every time seeing the Nocturne Malphite combo come through. But even going back earlier, Top Esports early game was just on point. Tien really felt like he was everywhere. Goes up, covers topside, allows Wayward to set up the freeze. He's winning out in top lane, instantly goes to gank mid. They find a kill onto the Karma, and then recalls, go straight down towards the bot lane and gets them ahead with an early skirmish.
Exactly, and that is what was so crucial here. Again, it just feels like when TS are on form, the entire team has something to say about it. Not a single player goes without having highlight moments. And I think that's so crucial when you're looking at TS as they approach these games, right? like changed up the style a little bit. They brought out the Nocturne to get the first win of the playoffs, and they got wayward with the huge engages on the Malphite. At this point for LNG, draft is an amalgamation. I don't even know what to say. They've gone for the same style both times, but there hasn't been an answer to what TES is bringing.
I also find it just very, very interesting the way TS are approaching draft in terms of like hard committing to like, hey, we have Mark here peeling for our AD carry. It doesn't matter if hostile takeover is usually used, against dive. We can push forward aggressively, get you in these close spaces and use it aggressively, but we're going to get our engage on the opposite side of the map. So we have different ways of playing the game.
We do indeed, and that different way of playing the game is going to have to come to something for LNG in game number 3 because they are reeling at this point, and they're up against the ropes, one game away from being eliminated from the spring playoffs. We'll see on the other side of this break, though, as game number 3 is right on the horizon.
加强的话，所有肉英雄吧。
想加强一下卡莎吧。
Eric forward he goes. The fast with Gale Force, but LWX plays it back, you cheeky devil, you.
加强的话应该是肉的打野吧。
加强的英雄吧。虽然我觉得他们已经忘记这个英雄了，但我觉得他们可以把蝎子加强一点。
It is still coming. He's over the wall. Kodik devoured up there. Carson, the impale flash. Light. That is the problem.
加强我擅长的英雄吧。盲山皇子之类的。
我觉得加强吧，就是好像已经强势的英雄太多了，所以我觉得继续可以把强势的英雄继续加强一下，然后让我多玩一玩。
加强，喜欢加强像那种中路法师那种偏刺客的吧，还有个皎月这种。
加强，我玩的英雄都可以加强。加强的话，我觉得辅助方面还是需要设计师多多关照一下。
加强派克，
然后把我 AD 都加强一下。
建议给 AD 都加强。
加强，我感觉加强一下卡萨丁吧，其他的还好，没有什么特别厉害的。
일단은 탈론 같은 챔피언 좀 버프해주고 탈론 제드 같은 챔피언 정글로 좀 쓸 수 있게 더。
加一下其他中单吧，感觉最近比赛就天天吃那几个中路，感觉有点无聊。
AD 的那个属性啊，往上提一提就行，就血量啊、护甲往上提一下，我觉得还可以。我感觉上路也可以加强一些英雄。
那就是射手都加强吧，因为我玩射手。对啊。
打野吧，蓝枪，因为加强蓝枪的话，就厉害吧。
加强一下传统法师，现在新英雄机制都太强了，传统法师都太弱。
I think Shyvana is a buff. I mean, I think she's very fun to play, but at the moment she's not very strong. So please buff her.
删除的话走一。哇，中一下。
削弱一下左一的英雄。
너프. 근데 난 버프 너프 필요 없다고 봐. 왜냐면 메타에 따라서 또 챔프들이 장단점이 나뉘니까. 메타 패치가 어떻게 되는지를 알아야 되지 않을까?
我感觉可以就把现在英雄都全部削一削吧，就让我们玩点就是比较特别英雄嘛，就打比赛这样比较有意思一点。
削弱随便削，削弱其他位置的吧，别动打野了。
削弱感觉可以削弱像那种对刷的法师。
削弱男刀吧。
把打野这个位置削一下吧，伤害有点太高了。
我觉得刀妹有点厉害了，还是可以再削一下刀妹。
就削弱下男刀。
그리고 너프의 챔피언은 일단 지금으로 말하면 아펠리오스, 룰루 같은 아펠리오스랑 징크스 같은 좀 캐리력이 좀 센 원딜들.
削弱一下酒桶吧，太恶心了。
削弱刺客吧，因为刺客太猛了，
就没什么要削的感觉。
또 삭제해야 되는 챔피언은 안 쓰는 게 너무 많아가지고 사람들도 그러니까 삭제도 신경 안 쓰는 사람들이 많을 것 같고 그러니까 챔피언 너무 많으니까 트린다면 없애야 돼 내가 봤을 때
틀린다면 너무 운이야. 너무 운의 요소가 짙어.
我希望把佐伊删除吧。我很讨厌这个英雄。
就是狼普吧，感觉狼普这版本我不是挺喜欢的。
删除的英雄有一个努努，就滚雪球的那个，因为就有一些人只会，就是不管是路人，就玩的比较，这么说不太好，就很恶心，所以我不作为一个中男来说，就很不想看到这个英雄，就非要选一个删除的英雄的话，就努努吧。
我想到了，我之前就是世界赛的时候，之前在冰岛也是打过2段时间的欧服吧，然后那边很多那个小丑角和我当时特别讨厌那个英雄。Oh no！Q 过来给你来个背刺，太恶心了。
删的话，把那种蝎子、铁男这种可以删一下，就那种机制比较恶心。
删除吗？说实话，就是暂时的话，就把蓝刀杰这种英雄砍一下。如果都能删的话，钩子英雄也可以全删。
我想删除人，不想删除英雄，想删除不会玩辅助的人。其实我觉得现在版本阿克上就是还是蛮厉害的，感觉可以直接把这英雄删了吧。对，复活队友实在是太变态了。对，
删除啊，就是小法师。삭제할 챔피언은 레넥톤 특패 같은 이거 피할 수 없는 CC기 들고 있는 챔피언들.
把小丑这个英雄删除了吧。
赶紧把刺客删了，太变态了。什么齐亚娜什么的，我后期真的玩不了。就一个2件3件的齐亚娜，都打到你都打不到他就死了。就是刺客什么的，就太变态了，我觉得。
我感觉像那种刺客都可以删除，还蛮烦的。对，
我建议把所有刺客都删除吧，他老秒我。就别删一个了，都把刺客都给我删了吧。加强的话，加强辅助就完事儿了，给我来个100护甲。
我不知道，我也没什么想法。
没想到现在一个全部除了英雄公平吧？
没有吧？希望后。不过英雄越出越多了，再过几年是不是都快装不下了？感觉都挺好的。
没有比较讨厌的，感觉英雄都还可以。
现在我没有什么英雄规定我特别讨厌，就都还好吧。加强中路吧，然后其他位置都削弱一下，删除英雄都不用。
Welcome on back to the LPL Spring Split Playoff. Shanghai, the place of competition here, as I'm Mazel, joined by Lyric yet again. And we're into game number 3 between LNG and Top Esports. Top Esports themselves coming out smashing in game number 2. Almost a perfect victory in their eyes. And the MVP of the game, none other than Knight.
Even that first dragon fight finds the charm. Finds the charm. Mazel maybe should dog.
I'm going to keep talking because Knight himself, as you say, was that huge performer on the Aura. Yes, he did get it in game number 1, but the second game was that stellar standout. Does pick up his second MVP of the Spring Split playoffs, but the KP, the damage percentage, it was all about the execution for Top Esports.
Well, maybe I was muted, maybe I wasn't muted. I'm actually not sure what just happened, but Knight, like you said, I mean, had its stellar performance. I do want to hit a little bit on draft. Mostly talking about LNG again. Immobile carries up against Malphite, Nocturne. You don't have a whole lot of AP damage by not a whole lot, I mean almost none. We saw, which was really impossible to play, this game as light as Allah into this heavy dive squad coming out from the side of TS. And I mean, even ignoring like certain things, like once Top Esports got ahead and how unplayable it felt for LNG, just the early game. Like, they found the early game lead when LNG had a bunch of prio lanes and weren't able to get anything set up. Top Esports were the ones setting up a lot of these early game plays. And going into game 3, I'm not sure what LNG do. They're staying on blue side. They still have first pick available. We saw them pivot to the Jace that time around. Doesn't feel like you can pigeonhole yourself that
I'm telling you right now,
heavily.
It may be unpopular. I might get flamed for it. I can't see Doomby on a Karma. I need to see this guy popping up. I need to see him taking the battle to Knight and finding priority in that lane. I think the Rise game in game number 1 was the most promising that we've seen in the series so far, and that is integral, as we've said time and time again for LNG. You've got to get that synergy going, and I am so flabbergasted that that game 2 went the way it did, and especially with Doomby on the Karma.
Yeah, I mean, just, again, not, like, even if later on it would have been hard, like, and by hard, pretty much nigh unwinnable. Just not able to get anything going early. They're gonna have to change up some of their draft priorities. Maybe get something, more engaged, more 5v5 oriented than they have. Get away from just playing with like the range of the Jinx and the Jace. First, pick the Aphelios for yourself. Look for the more aggressive option in the bot lane. Get something, maybe a little bit more holistic in terms of that mid lane matchup as well. And we can see something more competitive. We can see something where, at least if we go into the mid game even, going into 5v5s, LNG have a fighting chance as compared to, this last game. Or game 1, which I feel like was a lot more down to execution on LNG's part rather than the opposite way. Point is, if LNG lose this game, they are out. They are just done. This team started off 7-0 in the regular split, and they will just be eliminated from playoffs in their very first match in a 3-0 sweep. That is not what you want to see, especially as Doomby, again, going up against his former jungler, going up against someone who he's been in competition with for these past 2 years as being one of the top mid laners. Doomby hasn't really had the same season this year that he did in summer, has not been in the conversation, but this playoffs is where you can turn it around if you can somehow set yourself up for getting back in the series and maybe making your way towards a reverse sweep.
Setting yourself up is key, though. You've got to do it. You've got to get the draft going for yourself. And I think something else interesting in looking at the duality of 80 carries in this situation, Light just hasn't felt like he's been able to play the game so far. And it is super crucial that LNG, as we said at the top of the day, transitions their mid-game leads into the Light differential in the late game. And I think Jackie Love is the stellar standout of this situation for it because he is playing aggressive. He is the one taking control of the bottom lane itself with the help of the rest of the team, obviously. But it's been Jackie Love's aggression here. As you said earlier, though, LNG on the blue side, they banned away the Lulu, the Hecarim, and the Renata. The 100% win rate staying alive here for Mark, but it will be banned away this time around. We do also have the Zeri, Lee Sin, Volibear banned by Top Esports. They do change things up for LNG, though. First pick of the Xayah.
And, having different tools to play out with, doing incredibly well in the compositions that want to run into you. Something that would have been nice to see in the last game, right, against the heavy dive coming out from the side of TS, but also having a bit of range to play with in terms of just poking out with those feathers. We know we are just seeing tons of lethality Xayah make its way into the meta. And now TS going to be the ones to respond, taking away the Rakan. So again, a lot of the shared value coming out from that one is also been Iwandi's best pick, in my opinion, in this season. And instantly going to pivot back towards the Ahri. Knight wanting to stay on that one, and also feeling like a bit of a takeaway. Doomby has just been hardcore spamming this one in solo queue as of late.
Yeah, and Knight was looking so darn good on it too. And it just feels like the kind of pick for Knight that fits so well with TN. But this would be a big harken back to that game number 1 for LNG. It's something that I do feel like fits Doomby in the style that he needs to be linking up with the side lanes. He needs to be linking up with Tarzan himself and being the Rise that initiates that. It gives you that option at that level 6 mark.
And now we're seeing from the side of LNG kind of trying to work around that. Just once again, going to go back to a bit of game one in terms of bringing out the Rise is going to once again give them that potential to play towards sides early on. And LNG making their way towards Leona because they don't want to get banned out in the support role in the second rotation. It means they can't pick up a jungler here. And it looks like both teams once again willing to save it for second rotation in terms of just leaving those more niche jungle picks open. And for Top Esports, after having such a snowbally win, I would love for the Jackie Love Draven to come out, but we have just been seeing throughout the past few days, even yesterday's series, right, where not a lot of people opting in towards 80 carries who can just walk forward safely and auto attack. A lot of tools like the Misfortune, like I guess locking in the Aphelios once again to be able to keep themselves safe in that backline. And now, I mean, I expect junglers to be taken off the board, right? We already have 3 now, but the Viego being another standout for TS, maybe opting into the Trundle like game one, if that's something you're worried about Tarzan taking. Even if, once again, I feel like it's not something that suits LNG's composition too well in terms of how it wants to play out, would be able to give more appeal, would give Tarzan a little bit of comfort on a champion he knows quite well.
Well, for Top Esports, is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Ahri, the Aphelios, key pieces to winning these games already in this series, and they want to go right back to it. We do have that Trundle ban, as you said. It is the Kennen ban away from Wayward to take away some of the setup potential for him in the top side, but I feel like there's still a lot of options available for Wayward himself to be that integral piece to the team. Camille banned away from Ala, though.
Very interesting, right? Certain things that still come to mind with things like both Kennen and Camille off the board is like Gnar, which we have seen quite drop off heavily in playoffs. It's actually only been played once. Graves still being another option that is available that has been doing quite well. For both top laners, I feel like there's a plethora of options. I feel like it's really jungle where we're once again going to be looking at TES. They do have a comp that once again can go quite heavily into diving backline if they wanted to follow forward with what they went last time around. But without LNG opting into the same kind of composition with, you know, the mobile backline playing from a range, it seems like they do just want to go with a bit of a safer pick that is more versatile in terms of how it can play out in terms of early game aggression and team fights, even despite the nerfs that have come through.
And I do think it also goes pretty well into the composition so far for LNG, being able to block a lot of damage from Xayah if you do get a good Crescent Guard off. But I would like for this to go through. It does. We get the Wombo combo potential here. Diana locked in for Tarzan.
Yeah, tons of bursts coming out through mid-jungle, but it is double AP,
Let's
so
go.
You're going to be able to itemize against it a little bit better. And blind pick Fiora coming through. I mean, LNG going with, I'd say, a super feast or famine composition. I mean, if Diana falls behind, feels like you can be quite useless in terms of being able to get those advantages, get on the backline safely. You will just be bursted out the second you go in. And Fiora, I mean, typically, right, wanting to come in to like hard counter matchups, we're able to do a lot. And I'm very curious to see what TS go with. They do just end up locking in the Graves, so they're going to have the pushing power. Obviously takes things like the Fleet Footwork, so we'll have the healing in terms of like extended like short trades coming out. You do get a bit of movement speed off that one, having the dash to be able to get away. So you know, we're not really wanting to commit fully into those duels or that 1v1 for TS. Looks a lot more, I'd say, team fight centric compared to what LNG have brought on the Rift. It is still very pick focused in my mind in terms of, you know, the singles target CC coming out from both the Ahri and the, you know, the Rakan kind of being able to pivot in and out. But for the side of LNG, once again, I feel like we can go back to game one and say, hey, this comp, very strong side laning coming through, especially with that Fiora. And in terms of the mid-game skirmishing, once the Diana comes online, if you can get that Diana ahead, if you can set her up well, she will just be able to explode the backline of Top Esports.
And I got to go back to that top lane, man. What a confidence pick on blue side to 5-pick the Fiora. Just saying, I know what Wayward's done already in this series. I don't care because it's my time to carry for Ala. And I think putting all your chips into this kind of style for LNG is really interesting because, as you said, it's kind of a feast or famine situation for them, and their playoff lives are on the line. Like, This is putting so much pressure onto the team and onto the execution of the individual members.
Oh, it really does. For LNG, though, I mean, they haven't showed up in this series, but we still know those high skill ceilings are there for their side. They have set up for the Diana, at least in terms of bot lane. Doesn't really feel like you have too much in mid or top. But if they're waiting for those skirmishes, if they're waiting for those 4v4s or 5v5s, LNG going to need to come online. They're going to need to set up for Ala to succeed later on in that side lane. And Top Esports really going to have to be the ones to answer with the early and mid-game picks coming through.
Summoner's Rift unfolds before us for the third time of the day. More stakes this time, though, as LNG are backs up against the wall. One game from elimination in the spring playoffs. It's LNG versus Top Esports.
Top Esports one series away from being able to make it to that double elimination portion, go up against the likes of Victory 5, of RNG, Knight making his way up with, you know, such famed mid laners, Xiaohu, Rookie, two mid laners that, honestly, I feel like Knight is in that conversation, right? All three of them being in the All-Pro team, I think have by far been the best mid laners of the split, and it just feels like a warm welcome for Top Esports to find the win, to make it up there. For LNG, they had a shaky second half of the split. Ala, honestly, I feel like has struggled all of 2022 so far, and they're really going to have to make some miracles happen here to keep their playoff life alive. Not even birth, it's their life. They're already here.
It's their life. It is absolutely their life. It's an entire split worth of blood, sweat, and tears coming down to a single hour-long game potentially here. And I think that's super integral to point out, and a lot of that stress coming into all these players. Obviously, weathered LPL players know how to deal with these kinds of situations, and I do expect LNG, as one of the top-seeded teams, to find a way back in this series. But if Top Esports get a hold of the game, it looks all said and done, because they have been so ruthless with their early leads.
Yeah, Top Esports, once they get ahead, again, you know they like to keep the pressure up. They like to get in your face. They like to go into the enemy jungle, get deep wards down, try and force you in, find picks, and just constantly moving the cogs of the game forward. They're not the type of team who likes to just wait out in terms of dragons or neutrals to be able to find those leads. And for now, right, I mean, you have a bit of you have the more early game oriented jungler in terms of Xin Zhao definitely gonna have a lot better time if he finds early ganks. You have CC set up, you have a bit of burst available. Tarzan probably gonna want to look for that full clear, hit the level 6 mark as soon as he can. Then you start linking up with Doinby, has the Realm Warp available, impacting your sides, maybe getting bot lane ahead. You can try and set Ala up in a decent position, but I feel like Ala shouldn't be under any threat in terms of like 1v1 kills or even ganks if he does keep his wave, you know, at a bit of a neutral position. And Ala will scale up no matter what to be a huge monster that Top Esports will have to figure out a way to deal with.
Yeah, it's either collapsing or just finding those trades across the map itself, and early leads will help that to some extent. But I would expect some more focus on the bot side as Jackie Love gets Zenith played into. Grand entrance from Mark trying to separate some of that damage, but he's able to return a lot onto Iwandi.
And with these trades coming out on bot side, and us just talking about the comps holistically, this game, I feel like early dragons are also decently valuable for the fact that if LNG gets some of the first few dragons, it buys them more time in the side lane with Hollow. They won't be forced to fight an early soul point against Top Esports in a 5v5 where maybe TS can come out ahead. And for TS, same thing. If you pick up those early dragons, it just means you're going to be able to get Ala out of a side earlier on to force those outright 5v5s.
We get the move down from Wayward, beautifully communicated there as Knight and Tien join up to get this second Scuttle Crab. Tarzan forced out of that aggressive play early on. We'll just have to go back to farming his own empty side of the jungle. But something after that skirmish that I do want to go back to is the fact that we have seen a lot coming from this bottom lane. We've seen a lot of confidence from Jackie Love on this Aphelios. The fact that he gets it for the third time in a row, you're seeing that confidence ooze out of him early on in this. I mean, they've already pushed down Iwandi and Light in the bottom lane, as is tradition, it feels like.
Oh, of course. I mean, especially the Aphelios up against the Xayah, you know, the guns you start with level 1, having the range advantage on the Aphelios, able to poke the Xayah out. I feel like it's a bit longer before Xayah really comes into the matchup. LNG, though, look on your mini-map. We see Tarzan hovering around right now. Looks like they were hoping for an opportunity to present itself, but Top Esports fully aware. Also do have some vision in River, so had Tarzan started to come through, maybe having a bit of time to be able to escape, especially with Jackie Love having the cleanse available. So for the side of TS right now, they're still just doing fine, playing out through this early game. Huge CS lead opening up for Jackie Love already.
Yeah, and they just constantly are pressing into LNG's bottom lane, and because the early focus on bottom side from Tien, that path up, it kind of dissuaded anything and let TES play with a lot of that confidence of bottom lane. And now that they have this lead, it feels like they can just continue to utilize that as a point of pressure, especially as we see Tien coming down to this bottom side. Could go for the clear, but also has the dragon on the board for the first dragon of the game. We do see a ping there for the potential to early stack can be there for TES.
And I think for TS, it wouldn't be too bad to look for that option, considering that even if a fight breaks out right now, I feel like you should be favored. TN having a level advantage as of now. Tarzan might be able to equalize that one after picking up his Raptors, but you know, level 5 Diana versus level 5 Xinjiao, top esports going to be feeling good. You have pressure in mid lane. Wayward even hovering around from top side right now, which feels Knight even more confident to take aggressive trades. So for TS, I think you're really trying to find a skirmish. You're trying to force LNG into you, or even just hard commit to a gank bot.
We are seeing that hard commit, but it's hard to do so against Mark on the Rakan with a lot of that fluidity, but himself, Jackie Love, playing very nicely. TN hovering there, and here comes the Dragon, started up by TES.
Yeah, so TS going to go on this one. Knight making his way over first. Does have the Spirit Rush available right now. Jackie Love having a level lead is also pretty important. Top esports, they feel good fighting here as they're going to posture off with Doonby having an angle.
That's a nice little realm warp to get in, and this means LNG have taken pole position in front of this Dragon, but the grand entrance, the Dragon reset, and TN gets the kill, first blood. They are traded back immediately, though, and it's a scrappy fight. Doonby staying alive, flashing over the wall. Knight chasing him down, gets him. Jackie Love dies to Tarzan, and Light and Tarzan survive. Dragon goes to LNG as well. It is chaos.
And for top esports, I think it's a little bit unfortunate the guns that Jackie Love ended up on for that skirmish. Had he had a bit more DPS, I think you can more quickly take down Doonby in that fight and kind of pivot it into a win. Those, I think, it'd be a lot better if you were level 6, have the Moonlight Vigil available, you know, for either like a huge burst from the shotgun or the Gravitum to set up CC, but they don't. So they go in, we see an initial pick come out from top esports, but Light not really being challenged on one end of the fight. And sure, you're going to be able to take down Doonby here, but Jackie Love putting himself in harm's way to be able to find that. So ultimately a 2-for-2 in the end. And LNG also were the team able to secure the Dragon.
Said the early stack of a TS would be nice, but LNG do not let that happen. They force the fight over it, and they come out with a little bit on top. Not in the gold lead, but at least maybe it's a mental advantage as they were able to take the first objective there. But next up on the Rift is going to be Rift Herald in about 20 seconds. We have seen top esports not put as much priority into that Rift Herald, but now that they lost the first Dragon, I wonder if that does change, Lyric.
For the side of TS, I mean, I don't think it changes too much, right? Because TN still should be the one looking for a lot of these kind of advantages. We've seen playing around top side for now with Rift Herald coming up. You're going to have to clear out a lot of this vision because LNG do have double control wards in top side River. The good thing for top esports is the fact that their bot lane is push, so they are able to move first and start this one up. Now I want to see if LNG opt to kind of contest. You do have ultimate on Tarzan, so Diana hitting this power spike where he is strong. We do see Light just committing down to bot lane, so I feel like LNG just going to back off for this one.
It's just a trade back. Some turret plates being worked on by Light down there, which I love to see. After getting pressed into his tower all early game, he actually gets a little bit back for himself. But again, the trades will not end up in too much. We do get the Rift Herald for Tien to see if he wants to pop a top lane already, as we have the lane swaps coming out from top.
I mean, for TS, not wanting to give too much over to Light, Wayward had the TP, so he can make his way down there, catch those waves, not allow Xayah to push, and Jackie Love can just instantly go towards his top side. Aphelios, with you know, the Chakrams available, right, very easily able to burn down these tower plates. I still expect a reset to come out and you know, both teams to pivot back to normal lane matchups. For Jackie Love on the Aphelios, I think you really do want to just abuse in this 2v2, but LNG actually being the ones to answer. I'm a bit more surprised LNG aren't willing to pull you know, like the trigger on a more aggressive play, right? Doonby hovering around, doesn't have the Realm Warp available just yet, so maybe that's what it is for LNG. If not, you can try and force those numbers advantage plays onto the fact that Jackie Love is playing so far forward, taking these turret plates. Dragon not up for 2 minutes, though.
He stopped the back from Ala, which means Wayward gets 2 plates to his own in the bottom side. So nice little micro-aggressions from Jackie Love there to make sure that things can work out for Wayward. Now we do see LNG committing to this top side. I feel like Jackie Love has his spider senses tingling a little bit here, Lyric, as maybe not, because he just stepped right back up. The Realm Warp coming in. The cleanse is not enough because the Glacial Augment is there. Jackie Love dies to Light.
Yeah, Jackie Love going down. This was the play we were just hitting on of why I expected top esports push out that wave, take some plates, instantly go for the recalls back down towards bot side. You're kind of opening up a window for LNG to make these plays. They do lose out on mid. Knight going to at least be able to get one plate. I wonder if Tien will want to drop this now. You could, and set up for the second Rift Herald to potentially be the thing that just outright breaks this, but no, they're actually getting a lot of damage down. LNG really slow to respond.
But this is also huge. Like, this is not something we've seen in the last couple games where we get that full-on focus on Knight, but it is something that has led to so much success for top esports. And we can talk about Wayward, we can talk about Jackie Love in the bottom lane, but the core to success is this mid-jungle duo. The fact they get all 5 plates in the mid lane and first tower for Knight, it's a boon.
Huge for the side of top esports to be able to do it. But again, a lot of it comes from the fact that LNG did make the play on top and didn't keep too many resources around mid. I actually feel like they overcommitted resources top to make that play on Jackie Love. And I'm actually surprised they're still sticking around. Dragon coming up in 25 seconds typically is when you'd want to rotate your pressure lane back down to the opposite side, which, you know, gives you tempo. You're able to push in the wave, get that objective. But both teams for now staying up around top. I want to see if top esports start rotating now, though. Only 10 seconds until that one's up.
Yeah, it's the second Dragon of the game. They did lose that first one, so maybe a little bit of propensity to get back down there as Tien is on his way that way. We do have Wayward going into the pit himself, so it looks like it will be top esports claiming this one. As Tarzan, nowhere really to be seen as he's trying to put that pressure in top side to take LNG's first tower of the game.
And LNG just going to commit to the cross map, knowing that top esports have the first move down to bot side, so TES now just holding Knight up to top to try to, you know, absorb some of this XP, slow down the push a little bit. LNG do get one turret, but look at Tien on the bottom side of the map. Jackie Love's also pushed in mid, so they can start rotating numerous members down there and getting more plates down and even make their way towards another turret going down.
So many plates in this game already. So much gold to be given around early on. That means we've got to get some serious fireworks a little bit later, right? As Tien does take those Krugs. Another turret plate will go down to Wayward. And that will be, if I'm doing my on-screen math correctly, I believe it will be 9 plates total to top esports. As, you know, perfect timing for math as we get a pause.
Yeah, you know, gonna wait a little bit, find out what is going on here in terms of the pause. But so far, I feel like we've been seeing a lot of good reactions come out. Top esports have definitely had their front foot forward, if I can talk, in terms of, right, they've been initiating a lot of the rotations, especially with the pressure coming out from their Aphelios lane, move towards top. After, you know, a few minutes of shenanigans there, we see the Aphelios go towards mid, and LNG typically having to be the ones to either answer, like we saw in the top side play, or just opt into cross-mapping once TS just went for that dragon right there. So I feel like both teams responding appropriately to make sure that they're going into the mid-game even, especially for the side of LNG feels really important considering you do have that Fiora who's still going to be a menace later on. And both teams only sitting at one dragon for now. She's going to get more time to try and play out and find that advantage as she finds more items.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about the slow and steady buildup as well. You know, getting 2 and B into those side lanes, starting to see the gears that we typically see for LNG. And I think that's super interesting, especially with the games that we've had already for them with that tightly contested first game. Then the second game that was an absolute smash by top esports. To see some of that life in LNG in this third game is so, so crucial because this is one of the top teams in the LPL regular season. This is a team that is built for success. And not being able to find it here, getting smashed out in a 3-0 is not the success you want to have.
No, and for LNG, right? I mean, we had so many teams. I think every team other than EDG changed their roster in some way. And for LNG, it looked like on paper they found upgrades. I mean, after the past few years that Allah's had, it looked like a really good change coming in for their side. We saw Duinbi, of course, coming into the mid lane now, playing with Tarzan. It just felt like a match made in heaven in terms of mid-jungle. Tarzan, who was the best jungler, I feel like, just undoubtedly, even in the early half of LPL. In the 7-0 run that LNG had in the first few weeks, Tarzan was just dominating everyone. But, again, starting to fall off, Duinbi not finding the form, and it really just hasn't felt like it doesn't feel like it's more than the sum of its parts. There we go. It doesn't even feel like the sum of its parts, as LNG have just kind of floundered. But this game, I do feel like they are at least in a decent position going into the mid-game.
Oh.
Hey, we're back.
We're back. And Mark with the grand entrance. Knight has the connection. Duinbi still pretty tanky, though, on this rise. And now Mark is in some serious trouble here as Tarzan picks up his second kill of the game.
And crucial for him, right? He has Hextech Rocket Belt in pocket. giving him more opportunities to find his way onto the back line. Also having his ultimate up. So for LNG, I feel like this is really where they feel like they can start taking some bites. Heck, a bunch of mythics up across the board. Top esports maybe still needing some backs before more of those come out. But Mark here trying to set up a pick onto Doinby. But for TS, I actually feel like the more important thing about this play is look at the minimap. You have full wards in their bot side jungle. You don't spot out Tarzan. He's not showing on any wave. So I'm a bit surprised TS completely opt into this play, maybe assuming he's on a reset, thinking they have the burst to get Doinby down fast enough. They don't. Tarzan able to respond, and they answer back.
Yeah, he just has the health extra there from the tanky setup. Did have the plated steel caps though, so maybe that's why they thought, oh, we could just burn him out. But he is a rise. He is terrifying. We do see Wayward answering the bot lane push from Ala, as he does get a couple plates there. But something else I want to reiterate on is we were talking about LNG feeling a lot different in this game, seeing some of those hints of life for themselves. But Light himself on this Xayah feels like he's finally showed up and able to participate in the series itself against Jackie Love, who is now sitting at 0-2 on a pick that he has been pressing into Light all 3 games to this point.
Yeah, now, I mean, still a bit of a gold lead, but it feels like they're finding themselves on the back foot. I do want to highlight TN, though, going with the Gore Drinker, so not getting another Turbo Chem Tank Xinjiao is pretty pog, if I do say so myself. But Mazel Rift Herald about to come up. I feel like, crucially, a lot of summoners and ults up on both sides. Doinby won't have the flash, so we'll have to be a bit more careful about walking forward if they do look to contest. With all members of LNG heading up, Knight finds a charm.
A long CC chain there with the Everfrosted Charm, but it is on to Iwandi to get another tanky member. But here we are, bread and butter for Top Esports. Second Rift Herald on the board, bringing everybody this way. Wayward on his way as well. But right now, it's a 4v4. And LNG look like they want to contest here as well, as they are setting up in front of this.
Tarzan.
TP now coming in from the bottom lane on Ala. We have Wayward joining here. He has the TP available. Charm connects on Iwandi. Iwandi dies to Wayward. Beautiful collateral damage, and Mark goes forward. Moonlight Vigil, and Tarzan's down. This is tragedy for LNG. They didn't even need to fight this fight. Doinby dies too, and it's 3 shots across for Top Esports.
Really nice by Top Esports to pull the trigger so fast. I mean, they started moving Wayward up early, gives them the confidence to fish for these charms onto Iwandi, and without that frontliner there, LNG aren't confident. Wayward instantly pivots back to bot to take the spot lane turret. You have another Herald, so TS might be able to walk away with 2 turrets after that winning fight.
I can't believe the turnaround. It just seems to come up every time. Rift Herald number 2 is alive. Top Esports fight for it, and this time LNG fall for the bait. It is a big pickup for all of Top Esports and a huge team fight win to get that momentum in their side.
So crucial for Knight to be able to find that charm to force that one in. The members of LNG not feeling comfortable following forward, then instantly everything goes onto Tarzan. Moonlight Vigil to follow up, and Knight with the resets coming out. Charm comes back off cooldown. They're able to finish this one off. But again, I feel like the pivotal thing was LNG not feeling too comfortable to initially go forward because they know Wayward is moving up first. They have to commit the TP from Ala for him to even match in time. And then by then, Tarzan and Iwandi not given the time to find the engage I think they were looking for onto Jackie Love because they did have every tool available.
They did, and unfortunately the trigger pool's just on the side of TES a little bit better. Dragon up on the board. This would be second Dragon for either team. You see TES getting that priority in mid lane, trying to move down. That collateral damage early, but getting a little bit of poke damage on LNG, and their health bars can't set up for the fight here. Solar Flare goes out a little bit randomly from Iwandi, and LNG back away as second Dragon goes to TES.
I mean, Top Esports have full control over vision in this river, so LNG would be walking blind. They're a relatively short-range composition, something Aphelios thrives into. I mean, Knight the whole time throwing out Qs, so they were just taking a bunch of free damage. So TS doing a nice job of using their pressure of you know, not fully committing, making LNG be the ones to make a decision to be able to force their way for that Dragon. And TN didn't have to use a Herald for topside because they have 2 members there. Can now drop this one down mid. They're going to be able to guarantee a turret here.
That's another brick in the wall for Top Esports. A second tier tower in the mid lane. That charge will not continue, but they're actually pressing up with Wayward on the bottom side. This one's a little bit more difficult to charge into, as Wayward would be backing away with the resets from Top Esports, but they do find themselves at that 4,000 gold lead here, and we've seen it time and time again in this series. Once they get the lead, they do not like to give it up.
And I feel like so far this game, Knight really has been the pivotal performer once again, sitting at 100% kill participation. One player I want to highlight who we haven't really talked about today is Mark, because I feel like it's easy to pivot towards Wayward with how flashy a lot of his plays are. But ever since coming onto the roster, Mark and Wayward really have made a difference. TN coming back in. Mark just feels like he works so much better with Jackie Love down on that bot side. Especially after Draw, coming out, making a statement, feeling like he wasn't in the best form, kind of wanting to take a back seat in Mark. Not only being solid in lane for Jackie Love, not only kind of being on the same wavelength in terms of the aggression, because Mark, another player who just loves to go in. But it feels like in terms of the 5v5s, in terms of the team fights, Mark always able to find, good setups coming out from him. So, again, ever since the Top Esports roster changed, they really just have been a synchronized unit, a coordinated squad of absolute killers.
Well, and I think that killer instinct is so crucial, but also something that was very interesting as, we're going to get the potential wrap around by TES.
I love
wanted
Wayward.
to make a point here. Well, Mark goes away on the side. Wayward does get CC down here, focused down, but Tien on the backside. This is such a chaotic fight. TES, Moonlight Vigil, max range from Jackie Love, doesn't connect all the damage onto Iwandi. TES get out by the skin of their teeth, but so do LNG. As the point I was going to say earlier is the fact that, you were putting a lot of focus on Iwandi and how his play style is affecting the way LNG like to find wins, but Mark himself as well, having some of that tenure, having some of that experience, but showing up when it matters, having the big win rates on Renatas, on the new champions, but showing the flexibility in his pool.
Yeah, kind of both supports, right? Both supports coming in pretty recently to the squads to be able to make changes. For LNG, though, it feels like, at least in the series, it's not enough. 4K gold deficit in their deciding game. If they lose here, they are just out. TS really have been the ones to run them around the map so far. I feel like we haven't really seen much from Doinby in this series in terms of, Realm Warp usage or linking up with teammates. Tarzan and Iwandi have been trying to link up and find things, but not resulting in too much. And even now, look at Top Esports, fully committing to cover Knight and top side. They know Wayward relatively safe down in that bottom lane. Jackie Love doesn't need to put himself in harm's way to catch waves in mid. Just kind of constant pivoting from lane to lane for TES.
Iwandi barely showing on the vision there. Just gives Knight the upper hand in that situation. He will just play it calmly there as the top lane potential for LNG was not there this time around. We do have about a minute and a half until the next dragon spawns. It is a cloud dragon, but it is sole point for TES. And as we've seen before, right, they will completely stranglehold these objectives if you give them that advantage in it. We do see a lot of people from LNG moving down this way. Need to see that vision game come through, though, for LNG. Get some of that safety in your side of the jungle.
I mean, for LNG, right, it's going to come in a few steps. First of all, they got to start clearing out their own jungle because they know Top Esports just had control of bot side. So they should assume that wards are there. Secondly, I feel like what you need is to try to get pressure through bot. Forcing pressure through mid, especially if TS start grouping up again, will be impossible. But if you can guarantee the pressure through the Fiora lane, you'll at least be able to walk into river through bot side. So those are the two things I'm kind of looking for LNG. Clear your own jungle, make sure you keep up that pressure in bot, maybe dedicate more resources right now to helping Ala to make sure that can come through.
Look at this.
Oh, Top Esports. Kind of a nice pivot because Knight TPing in here keeps more pressure on, allows Wayward to keep pushing forward aggressively, and doesn't allow for answers to come through for LNG.
That's the tried and true fashion for TES. Keep the pedal to the metal here. And they are doing just that as the dragon spawns in 15 seconds. You now have everybody from LNG coming this way as well. They will have at least a little bit of a push out in the mid lane itself, but it's still going to be very scary to walk in here as Wayward baiting out all the abilities. There's the moonfall, but it doesn't matter because TES are coming in with a vengeance afterwards. The feather recall is not going to be enough as now it's just a front to back, and Knight is picking them apart. They get one back. Jackie Love falls, but it's the Knight show in this third game. It's the TES show in this third game, and they're on to the Dragon. The Dragon going down to Tien. Now they have to make out here as Ala and Tarzan back away.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, LNG actually don't have too much skirmishing power here. I mean, you're on a Fiora, right? It's all about the single target. It's all about dueling one member. The Diana having no ultimate, not able to follow up really with much either. So I feel like LNG not able to force, maybe kind of just posturing, hoping maybe an opportunity presents itself. Maybe someone overextends.
That Amumu emote's
I'm never gonna stop loving it, dude.
Yeah,
it's so great. It's so great coming out from TS, and now, like you said, Soul Point from their side in the deciding game. Still 4K gold up, 3-0 and 4. Ari for Knight. Banshee's Veil available against double AP on the opposite side. Everything's working wonders this year. You see Iwandi missing with the E. Ult as well. Wayward able to walk forward and dodge a little bit. Sure, Tarzan finds a Moonfall, but only onto Wayward. So Top Esports instantly pull the trigger and commit. Get Iwandi super low with the Spirit Rush coming out from Knight. Dwinby walking forward to try and secure the kill. And Jackie Love, he is able to do it, but you gave up so much.
Oh, Wayward gets caught out here. The grand challenge is alive and well, and Ala gets the healing back. Here comes the Realm War from Dwinby. This is the kind of turnaround you need from LNG. They need to find something here, and Flash from Knight will get him away.
And Knight having to commit a full flash to be able to get away from that one. Still, I mean, now TS, you start making your way up towards top and securing vision control. LNG buy themselves some breathing room with the fact that they find that pick. They also did have to burn a flash themselves coming out from Ala. But hey, more gold in your pocket from the kill, more gold in your pocket from taking this turret. They're going to have to keep Knight down towards this bottom side to answer the wave that LNG are pushing in. So overall, just nice win coming out from the side of LNG to keep, get the game closer to a neutral state, to inch them forward, especially now as we see more key items coming off for LNG. The Zanyas, especially for the Diana, you get in there, you blow the combo, and you won't instantly go down. As we see the replay coming out in bot side, Wayward setting up for Knight to come down. We see the Frost doesn't hit, not able to follow up with the charm, and once the kill comes out from Ala, just instantly the reset, Knight having to run away.
It's a quick turnaround for LNG and something we needed to see from them, a little bit of sign of life, but Ala maybe needs to check that sign of life as more than half of his health bar gets taken out. The vision game from TES will be pushed forward from this mid lane outwards, as we do still have a little while for these next objectives. I'm sure we'll get a lot of this game around the Baron pit now, just to make sure that LNG have vision around it, because you can't let the likes of this composition from TS burn down the Baron super quickly. They've already gotten a lot of control around the map itself. If they get Baron buff, that is going to seal the deal for a lot of these towers. You see TS hovering around this pit here, as they do know that they can burn it, but they want to keep the vision in favor of themselves and force LNG into darkness.
Yeah, I mean, and they're even just trying to pull pressure on the opposite side, right? We see Wayward right now still pushing because Wayward has teleport available. Push him in, make Ala come and answer the wave. Heck, even Dwinby right now trying to posture around. Because if LNG find a pick onto Wayward, both Dwinby and Ala have TP. So TS might look to just start up a Baron as response, but then LNG can still commit 5 members to the top side to answer the play that Top Esports go to make. So I like that Wayward backs off, doesn't stay too aggressively far forward. And for TS, I don't think they're just going to outright commit to a Baron or set up a turn for the fact that they are the ones sitting on Soul Point. And, champions like Rakan getting so much value out of a Cloud Soul coming through, being able to follow up with targets. Knight as well on the Ari. I feel like you'll be able to get a lot done in terms of being able to keep layering the CC down, follow up on members like Knight if they are trying to kite back and get away from a skirmish. So TS, 1 minute, 10 seconds. Can they keep the setup up, push in mid-wave, try and get vision control back down to bot side jungle? Because with Ala so strong, he's been able to keep pushing bot side, which has opened up Tarzan to get wards in bot lane river.
And I will say, just doing a little bit of an item check in here, we have 50 seconds until it does come through. But the thing that's standing out to me here is we have full item, 3 item completions for TS pretty much across the board on their carries, where we're just on the precipice for LNG. Maybe incremental leads matter, but those item spikes are going to be huge, especially for Jackie Love, especially for Wayward, as TS set up in front of this Dragon Pit and force LNG's hand.
And they're fishing for picks right now, right? We see them kind of walking forward with Mark. Mark knowing, he has the safety to get out between his E and his W. Wayward now making his way and pushing in mid-wave. So you're trying to create more points on the map where LNG have to look to answer. And once again, for LNG to take this fight, Iwandi needs to find a massive ultimate where Tarzan follows up. Jackie Love still incredibly vulnerable. Knight might have a stopwatch and a Banshee's Veil, but Jackie Love doesn't have anything.
He does not. It's all about the setup here as LNG Trying to get round around the way for Ala on the side here, but Knight on the back. You gotta look for the Dragon here. 3,000 health, TN pressing guard, and it will be secured by TES. What about the fight after I won? He's already down, so is Tarzan. He got a big blade collar, potential for Light, but Light getting flashed on by Knight. It's not going to be up yet, though. TN is back in on the Do-It-Be. Do-It-Be goes down. 5 members from Top Esports still alive, and Top Esports destroy LNG.
Top Esports get sold. Top Esports get all the kills. They can start pivoting up towards topside to take this Baron, and it's looking like a matter of time, Mazelf. Top Esports making their way to a 3-0 statement over LNG.
And it is catastrophe, disappointment, absolute tragedy for this to be going down against LNG. The way that they've had their season go, it cannot go down that way, but it's happening before our very eyes. Baron goes to TES, and TES rule all in this series.
Yeah, I mean, a massive gold lead. Looks like we're going into a replay, Mazelf. I gotta be honest, I'm at about 10 frames right now, so if you break this one down for me,
it was just that crescent guard.
Appreciated.
The moonfall from Tarzan was huge, but the capitalization from TES, they just move in, the crescent guard blocks all the damage, and he slices it away beautifully. It's about mechanics in these playoffs, and TES just come up with it all.
So crescent guard, so TN once again kind of being the big standout. Thank you for being my eyes, Mazelf. You know, about production always a bit rough. As Wayward,
he's in some trouble.
He's gone
down to Do-It-Be. TN just showing himself there with the rest of TES. They could route Tarzan, and here you go. Audacious charge over the wall. TP coming in, though, for some reinforcements for LNG. Isn't enough. Tarzan just dies. Oh, no, I won. What are you doing? He just walks in and gets blasted. Do-It-Be is trying to round more bout. Will not succeed. A double kill tonight, and everything for LNG is gone. They just over and over again force these fights and die every time. The flash from Knight will seal the deal, and there's only one left, and it's Light for LNG.
And now for TS, you see them sending Jackie up to get the wave top. They want to start pushing through, taking down these structures, opening inhibitors, and get us closer to ending this game. They've almost made their way up to a 10K gold lead. And I don't feel like things really get easier for LNG. Like, sure, again, they might have like late game scaling in terms of Fiora coming through, but again, a lot of that was kind of built on enabling your Fiora to force the 1v1, trying to find the 4v4 skirmishes on the opposite side. Now that TS already have Soul, it feels like it's gone with the massive gold leads as well. The item advantage is on their side. Knight, 25 stacks on the Medjais. LNG feel like they just run out of time.
Inhib tower will go down. The biggest thing for me is the kill participation for TS. I said at the beginning, it has been an all-team show for this squad. They have shown up. Every single person has moments of highlight. Mark himself, 100% KP in this one, but we'll get a replay of that original catch out on Wayward.
I mean, they had to look for something, right? They know they're falling so far behind, so they look for it the only way they can with committing Do-It-Be to follow up with Tarzan. But TS were already, playing around that mid lane, already playing towards the topside jungle. Just gives them faster room to collapse, answer back the kills. And then other members like LNG funneling in was a bit confusing, like Ala TPing him in, bringing him down. Feels like it's better just to cut your losses, think, hey, we found a pick, maybe we bought some breathing room, it didn't work out, and just try and buy more time. Try and hope the Top Esports make a mistake. Try and keep some, defensive vision up and get something, but no. LNG just kind of like rammed their fist into the wall, hoping it would break it, and you know what? Now they're in the hospital.
Yeah, a couple
Good job,
broken
LNG.
fingers for LNG there, but this is a terrifying position. It's like being in the water with a shark while there's a big chunk of chum waiting right next to you, because the way that TS play, they will smash these leads into your base, into your face, and we're seeing it already. Look at all this vision. Look at all this control. They will not let LNG leave their base, and they will continue to push in these towers.
And for TS, I like that they're also covering potential engages from LNG, right? Because if they're playing out through 3 lanes, it opens up the Diana.
Wayward gets caught, though. Big wombo combo as Wayward already down, but look at the backline. Jackie Love has red and white, and he's ready to fight. Knight is still full health as well. Mark, a little bit worse for Wear here. They only lose Wayward, as has been the case, it seems. To get out alive for a little bit longer. LNG with a huge capitalization.
Yeah, I think TS also reading the play well, right? Because, again, you could have had Wayward playing another lane. Maybe you have Knight push in mid. But they know LNG are going to commit down towards that bottom side with the Diana and Leona. It's really the only play they have left available. Wait for TS to show another wave, try and make the play. They just go for the force right then and there. Sure, you find one pick, but the fact that Top Esports do have 5 members ready to answer, it means they're able to get 2 in return themselves. Wayward, very bold. Tons of confidence coming out from him. Does pay for it, but still opens up for the re-engage from Mark. Beautiful the quickness to lock the 2 members down. And the Moonlight Vigil by JackeyLove just seals the deal. Now we are less than 1. He just doesn't stop. He's a true memer. Again, I just can't have more love for this guy in terms of what he does with his emotes. But 26 seconds on Dragon. I took so long to say 26 seconds. It's actually less now. Mazal, they have the vision. They have the minions pushing in. They got it all.
This is TS. They don't care so much. They want to look for picks ahead of time. They want to keep up the momentum here. LNG do TP in to set up for this Dragon, but they are surrounded here, and I don't know if they knew. Doinby caught out. Iwandi almost dead. Knight goes golden because of the solar flare from Iwandi, but now TES are set up in a front to back where LNG are kind of reeling in the way that they want to approach this Dragon pit, and Elder's on the board.
I mean, they just have no good way of getting in here, right? And I mean, we even see now Knight might even be on full build as the item just kind of went down. JackeyLove starting to summon himself. Knight!
Yeah, Iwandi is
the
just
pick.
dead. That's the Magi's. That's the stacks. That's the Realm Lord from LNG, but the Elder Dragon's already down. Look at the Moonlight Vigil. They're moving forward. They want those flaps. They want the Elder Dragon. They want double Elim as LNG, the 4th seed of the LPL, the 7-win streak at the beginning of the season means nothing. LNG's season will be over because of Top Esports, because of the momentum that this team has shown, and they are showing up for playoffs.
And Top Esports, a team that had to change their roster numerous times throughout this split, bringing in Wayward, bringing in Mark, and bringing TN back, able to bring it together.
One last time, the kills go down. Disappointment for LNG, but Top Esports have a date with Destiny. They have a date with Double Elim, and they have a series against V5 on the horizon.
Yeah, my God. I mean, massive performance from Top Esports today. Statement games. LNG on the opposite end not showing up. Some questionable drafts coming out today. The proactivity not there at all. The battle for Middle-earth. We didn't see it. Top Esports just kind of granted it with Knight having, huge standout performances back to back. His Ahri was so pivotal. Wouldn't be surprised if he picked up another MVP here. But Tien, I feel like Tien just a member I gravitate towards for the fact that he really has had some horrible performances this split. Game-losing performances for Top Esports. He came in today. He had a great show. And TS as a whole, I mean, it's hard to criticize anywhere. Because, again, they just slammed LNG. LNG weren't even competitive in this series.
That's the craziest part. Is again, I know I've said it a million times today, but in these last 2 series that we've seen from Top Esports, I don't feel like there's a game that goes by where you can't laud about one of these players. Like, every single game, it just seems like the team effort is there, either be it led by the transition into Tien being the shot caller away from JackeyLove. It doesn't matter because it all comes together. You use that mid-jungle duo to precipice into the late game team fights for JackeyLove to shine. And Mark all along there, I don't know if he ended up with 100 KP, but it was incredible to see the proactivity from this team. And honestly, the sky is the limit. We have seen them dismantle teams 2 times in a row already.
Yeah, I mean, TS, again, they're going forward. A bunch of momentum is a word I hate.
I know you hate it, but it's alive and well.
Yep. At this point, momentum is a great word to use for the side of TS. Going forward, we'll see how it holds up, considering they do play V5 next, considering that, those games did get delayed, so we're going to be waiting about a week before we do see that series itself. But gonna give a lot of time to readjust for TS. A lot of video, a lot of VODs for V5 to be able to watch to get a good read on Top Esports. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't feel like TS came into playoffs, reinvented the wheel, or like reinvented themselves. They stuck to what they do best. A lot of playing around night, a lot of individual playmaking coming out across the map. Again, Wayward in game 1, Jackie Love, some solid performances. And I mean, heck, I feel like this damage graph represents it well. Yeah. Everyone pulled their weight in terms of the 3 carries, and we had highlight moments. You highlighted TN's Crescent Guard in the fight that I wasn't able to see because of 1 frame per second. Mark coming in, having some really good uses of the quickness, synchronizing with Jackie Love in lane quite well. And yeah, just overall team performance where everyone was able to stand out, but also because no one shined on the opposite side for LNG today.
That's what I want to talk about. We do have to take the time to realize that our 4th seed of the LPL is gone. Our 7-0 start of LNG meant absolutely nothing. Like, this season is over, and it is disappointment. It is heartbreak. You put together this roster, you have the likes of Tarzan and Doinby coming together. At the beginning of the split, this duo was it. I was like, oh my god, LNG, like, what are you gonna do with this? And in the end, it's a lot of reactive play that comes to bite them in the butt. And I think that going into summer, they're going to have a lot to glean off of this split. There's a lot of things that went wrong, but I feel like that's also where some of that experience and some of that learning can help them moving forward.
And it's kind of weird to think that now, between all the players in our 2021 summer finals, right, which was FPX and EDG at the time, EDG obviously being out, Crisp out on BLG, now having Doinby being out, like LWX out, it just feels like across the board, the only one left standing is Tien. Tien, the only one in the 2021 summer finals that is still in the running to win another LPL title, like back to back. So I guess he didn't win in summer, but be in a final. I guess I should say back to back.
Slowly taking out his previous teammates. I love it. It's like the Reaper meme. He's just walking by, like, one by one, guys, I'm the one that needed to take the wins. I'm the one that needs to move forward. And going back to top esports in a whole, right? We were talking about the mid-game magic, the 2v2 between Knight and Tien. But again, it's that early unique pathing, the differences in styles we saw today from TES, where in that series against BLG, they approached it a lot the same the entire series. This one, throwing a little bit of a loop, the Nocturne Malphite combo in game number 2, and showing that they can do both.
Oh, and I loved it. Again, the Game 2 draft, I think, was brilliant coming out from them, the way they answered LNGs, and LNGs really looking so hard to play against the champions that TS had. And TS executed today. It feels like every early game, TS were able to come out with, I'd say, control, whether they were down in kills or not. They were always the ones dictating what was happening on the map. It wasn't, the only exception I'd say is game 1 and late game where LNG were kind of just running into top esports, but still the early game, the mid game, that's where top esports really would put on the pressure. And then once they get an advantage, repeatedly going into enemy red buff, looking for those picks, getting down the deep vision, kind of rinsing and repeating. Other rotations coming out from them, I really felt like they were on the same page. They're moving around the map as a coordinated unit, like Jungle and Support walking up together towards top, while Jackie Love is coming off reset towards mid, so he's not safe. He's not exposed to any ganks, as Wayward safely catches, waves under his turret on the opposite side of the map. So it felt like they had a really good read of what to do today, and now just waiting for MVP. I don't know if it's too much of a surprise. I really don't know if it could be anyone but Knight. But
I have one little more point to go through because we were looking at their series so far for top esports, right? In the first game against BLG, it was very toughly contested. BLG ended up winning. But the thing is, since then, it's been smashes, it feels like, from TES. So the biggest question for me lies, what happens when they do go against the V5, who have Rookie and Karsa as their mid-jungle duo, and how do they work from behind? How do they work from not having that stranglehold on the teams that we know them so well for going forward?
Oh, I think it's going to be rough, if I'm being honest. I think TS are in for a rude awakening when they play against V5, when they play against a team who does play extremely aggressive early on, plays to snowball their leads, and honestly, it's probably the best team in the LPL doing it. I don't want to just say V5 is the best team, right? I feel like JDG have looked good. I feel like RNG have certain things they're better at, but V5 I think are the best at snowballing a lead forward. And Mazel, it's no surprise who MVP is. It's no surprise. You knew, I knew, they knew, the neighbor across the street knew.
It's always Knight. It is always Knight. His third MVP of the Spring Split playoffs in his second series played. 9-0-11, 87% KP, 30% damage done. This guy, nothing else you can really say. I mean, he is stellar.
No, Knight coming out, just, again, such a good performance today on the Ahri. Like, I remember yesterday just kind of like seeing Ahri's come out and some really egregious charms. And then today you look and like Knight, my God, dude, he makes it look so easy. Pretty much finding every charm to find an impact on the fight. Not even always relying on the Everfrost to come through first to set those ones up. Just able to find them himself and waiting for the perfect time of when an enemy's forced in. If you're contesting over Dragon, you know the enemy jungle probably gonna have to walk forward to look for a smite steal or look for a bit of an engage. Holding it for that moment, throws out the charm, sets up the engage. And overall, fantastic performance from him. Had a very slow start, I think, in the first, like, let's say 2-3 weeks. Wasn't bad. Just if you think back to last year where he broke the solo kill record, comes in, not really solo killing anyone, not really finding pressure in lane. It was Victor Corki meta, so it is way more understandable in my mind. But the second we transitioned from Corki Victor to Ahri, to Vex, to Silas, like, my God, this is when this man really started just showing up once again and being like, hey, again, while I'm in this league, like, I might just not be the outright best mid laner, but I will always be in the conversation 100%.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, especially when you see that kind of synergy unfold for TES. But as you said, could be a rude awakening when they go up against the top mid jungle duos in the league itself. And looking forward a little bit, looking at that bracket, you know, it is moving forward into V5. It is moving forward into the double elim. I think that's an important conversation to have, right? We are one best of 5 away from being fully into the double elim, but it will be TES who book the first ticket against V5. And looking at that specific matchup, looking at that double elim section, it gets even more stressful. It gets even more contested. Yes, it's a one and done situation here, but this means you've made it through the slog to some extent, and now you've got an entire other progress to make here in the bracket.
Yeah. So we're going to bring that up, right? Bracket going to come on our screens. We'll see for that one because, like you're saying, making our way towards double elim, just so, honestly, also just so tiring, right? Losing a series, having to make that run in the lower bracket. But we still have tomorrow, right? JDG versus Weibo Gaming. You know, have a bit of a special someone that maybe we've all missed casting tomorrow. I won't say the name, but of a special someone.
You're not gonna give it away.
You know, not exactly gonna say, but JDG versus Weibo gonna be huge, especially after the performance the Shy had yesterday.
Yeah,
was massive. Was something we all know we could do. But SOFM, I think, was the one who exceeded my expectations. I really thought SOFM was just contributing nothing for the side of Weibo in the later weeks of the LPL, able to find a huge impact, especially when he had his hands on things like the Lee Sin. Against JDG, Kanavi winning first team a jungler in the LPL, 3-6-9. I mean, heck, look at the trade between JDG and TS. 3-6-9 being one of the best top laners we have. Zoom, not even a starter in the LPL right now. It's kind of sad to say out loud and kind of sad to see, but still, great split from him. And then Hope, I feel like, kind of glued everything together once he got put down in that bottom lane with missing. So JDG going to make their debut tomorrow against Weibo. We wait a week. We go into the double elim bracket. Everyone's happy. You're happy. I think you're over there. I'm happy. And then
I'm going to be in Ireland finally. I can't wait. Oh my God. I want to go to Ireland. But in all actuality, you know, it does come down to the nitty gritty. It does come down to that JDG Weibo Gaming series to see who will be our last joiner in the double elim. But Lyric, it has been an absolute pleasure to be here with you to cast this series. Unfortunately, we only went to 3 games, but they were bangers themselves. So thank you for joining me. Thank you to the production team for making us all look so pretty. And thank you to the audience for joining in for these Slaughterfest games that we had in favor of TES. We'll see you next time on Summoner's Rift. Same place, same time tomorrow. So don't miss it.